Hey guys, it's Sean here, and today I'm going to do a little live stream where I'm going to watch the 1998 Daytona 500, so let's get started.
Baker back in 1980.
Now they gotta move on.
It is the moment every race fan awaits. 50 years to the day when NASCAR first made Daytona the world center of speed. The homecoming is about to happen. The only ticket tougher to obtain or is for a seat in one of those 43 cars now resting on pit road. Good day,
If
everyone.
anyone knows who
and Ken
wins the
Squire
Daytona
with you. Welcome to
500,
the
tell
40th
me.
annual $7 million Daytona 500. And what is it, you may ask, that makes this race so special, this day so very special? For some, it's the final act of an annual ritual, a mysterious mixture of speed and color. It's the fascination of watching 43 men commit themselves to the trial, to the danger of near 200-mile-an-hour speed, inches apart. Gene Shepard once said, if horse racing is the sport of kings, then auto racing, this furious and sometimes brutal game, is the sport of friends. New or old, come along, friend, and enjoy the great American race. And it starts with Dick Berggren of Stock Car Racing Magazine on pit road.
Thanks, Ken. Starting on the outside of the front row, two-time national driving champion Texas Terry Labonte. He has finished second 3 times in the Great American Race. He has never won it.
Yeah, if anyone knows who wins, tell me.
I feel like Chevy was pretty good in practice, but the competition is pretty tough and it's a long race, so we're just going to do our best.
This is going to be for about 3
Starting on
hours.
the pole position in the fastest car in the field, his brother, Bobby Labonte. Weather is an issue today. Rain is in the forecast. This could be a rain-shortened event. Bobby, how would that affect your strategy?
Well, want to be up front if it does start raining. I know that, but right now we're just going to race the racetrack. It's a long race. If it doesn't rain, and try to keep this Interstate Battery Pontiac running really good for a good day.
Good luck to you. To Ken Squire.
We're down to it. This is the moment. They're ready to fire them up and begin the Daytona 500. Let's go trackside for the command that gets it all underway.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you, the great fans of NASCAR, now join with Governor Bill Graves
I wonder
in
if I get
issuing the most
copyrighted if I
famous
watch
words
this.
in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
If I don't talk that much, it's because I'm in this a lot. I'm going to be in this for a lot.
We're ready to go. The 4 words that mean so much, that send those shivers up your spine, have been given, and we'll be back for the start of the 500 momentarily. The largest crowd in Daytona history, held in suspense, awaiting the green flag from Dan Marino today. There's the man they're all talking about, as they did a year ago, Jeff Gordon, defending champion of the Daytona 500.
I don't actually know who won the
topside
Daytona
right now
500
for the
in
folks who'll make the
1997.
call
I think
on
it
this
was
40th annual Great American
not
Race.
junior,
Mike
senior.
Joy standing by with Ned Jarrett and Buddy Baker.
Thank you, Ken. NASCAR, of all major professional sports, is the only one to start their season with their biggest and most prestigious event, the Daytona 500. Teams have had all winter to prepare. But Ned Jarrett, there's been a lot of preparation and a lot of speculation of what will happen today.
A lot of questions to be answered, Mike. The new Ford Taurus, first time it's been on the track with 43 cars out there. It's untested for 500 miles. And the GM teams have a new engine combination. It's untested for 500 miles. You have some drivers with new teams and some drivers with new teammates. How will all that play out? Then there are 6 drivers in the field who are making their first ever Daytona 500 start. That's just some of the questions that will be answered here today.
Well, now, when Buddy Baker won this race in 1980, if you had the fastest car, and you did, you put your foot down, and you did, and you passed everybody to win the race. Today, it's a different game out there.
Well, it is. The cars have to stay in good track position. One thing they have to do is stay with other cars to draft. A few years back, when you didn't have the restrictor plate to pull the horsepower out of the engine, you could run a pack down. You could actually fall back and pull back up into the pack. You can't do that anymore. So pit stops, teamwork, and great drivers will win the race today, not just a heavy foot.
56 teams came to Daytona. 43 will start the Great American Race. Here's the starting lineup. For the first time ever, brothers are on the front row, the Labontes, Bobby and Terry. In row 2, Sterling Marlin, two-time winner, and Dale Earnhardt, his 20th try to win this race. Dale Earnhardt, a two-time winner, and Mike Waltrip, second in their qualifying race. Jimmy Spencer, winner of the Bud pre-shootout, and Mike Skinner, last year's pole sitter. Ward Burton, 8th last year, and Ernie Irvin, the 1991 winner. Derek Cope, who was in victory lane in 1990, and Rusty Wallace, his 16th try to win the big race. Jeremy Mayfield, 6th last year, and Jeff Burton, 5th 2 years ago. Mark Martin, his best finish is 3rd in 95.
I don't even know any of these racers, except for Earnhardt and Gordon.
John Andretti won the 400-miler here last July. Andy Hillenberg, two-time ARCA champ. Bill Elliott, a two-time winner of the 500, next to rookie from Vermont, Kevin LePage. Chad Little, his 7th 500, and Bobby Hamilton, new into a car that has won here 3 times. Mike Wallace hopped in Phil Barkdahl's car early in the week. Greg Sachs, last 8 years, 8 different teams he's driven for. Jeff Bodine, the 86 winner, next to Connecticut rookie Jerry Nadeau. Rick Mast finished 4th in 1991, and Joe Nemechek won yesterday in the 300-miler. Jeff Gordon, defending champion of the 500, and Robert Presley makes his 5th start. Ken Schrader, a hard crash Thursday, but he's ready to go for that $1 million bonus, and Ricky Craven, 3rd a year ago. Long Island rookie Steve Park driving for Earnhardt and ageless Dick Trickle. Dave Marcus, his 31st straight 500, and rookie Billy Standridge. Kent Musgrave finished 4th here in 95, and rookie Kenny Irwin Jr. Kyle Petty, 3rd generation driver, and Ricky Rudd, 3rd in 81. Steve Grissom, last year the front row, this year the back row, for he and provisional starters Brett Bodine, and the champions provisional to the 1989 winner, Darrell Waltrip.
There are 43 cars in the field here today, racing for 500 miles, 200 laps on this 2.5-mile track. Fuel went to 45 to 50 laps, racing for more than $7 million, and the race record was set by our own Buddy Baker back in 1980. Let's take a look at this Daytona International Speedway. Here's the start-finish line, 18 degrees of banking here, 31 degrees of banking in the turns. What does 31 degrees of banking look like? We'll bring our graphic up here, our car. That's what it looks like, but to the drivers, when they go into the turns at 200 miles an hour, it looks almost flat. In today's race, you will have 18 new Ford Tauruses. You will have 3 Ford Thunderbirds, 16 Chevrolets, and 6 Pontiacs.
You see the guy in the front doing it.
Drivers who failed to qualify for this race, listed in alphabetical order.
Bodine.
Kenny Wallace lost that final shot on the last lap of his qualifying race. Robert Presley held him off. Today you're going to ride along with the man who seeks to win his first 500 after 20 starts. It's not just that Dale Earnhardt hasn't won this race, it's how close he's come, how many times. He'll start 4th today. Mark Martin led the most laps here in last year's race. He's still looking for his first win in the 500. Jeff Bodine, 1 win, a total of 7 top 10 finishes in this race. Rick Mast makes his 8th Daytona 500 start. Jeff Gordon, last year the 7th driver to win the Daytona 500 and the Winston Cup Championship in the same season. Ricky Craven started last year's race in the last row and finished 3rd. Kenny Irwin Jr. is one of 6 drivers running their first Daytona 500 today. Dale Jarrett is one of only 6 drivers to have won this race more than once. He'll start 5th. From Roush Racing, Jeff Burton won 3 Winston Cup races last year. His 5th Daytona 500 start is today. And John Andretti hops into the throne of the king, Richard Petty's Pontiac. He'll start 17th. He won the Winston Cup 400 here last July 4th.
Mike, we're about ready to get this Daytona 500 underway.
Okay, that's way too close,
not
right?
just an observer and the flag waver, he's the co-owner of car number 13, driven by Jerry Nadeau. Pretty quiet out there as the lights are out on the Pontiac safety car.
Those butterflies are churning in
And
the
they're
stomachs of
going.
those drivers, but they're about to leave them here right now.
And to start the 50th anniversary season of NASCAR, the 40th Daytona 500 is underway.
There we go. 10 minutes of live streaming and we're already up.
But Jeff Gordon got a slow start. He was down on the apron when they dropped the green flag. Gordon comes up to speed. This 43 car is uncoiled down the back straightaway.
Earnhardt's all the way. Where the fuck is Earnhardt? He's in fifth.
From overhead, turn 4. A new look at this race.
Boy, that's exciting to see that. I've never been that high, but I felt like I have when I got in the wall here a few times. Look at these cars, already 3 wide down through the tri-oval here. The Labonte brothers are working together. Sterling Marlin in 3rd spot there. They go right to the bottom of the
So
race.
Earnhardt's back now in 4th.
But you have a few of them trying the top side already.
For the first time ever, Bobby Labonte leads the Daytona 500. Only 4 races last year were won from the pole. That's Labonte's green Pontiac.
Tremendous amount of debris on the back straightaway there. That's wrappers, sandwiches, and various things of paper. But these cars have various holes in the front to get air into the cooling of these cars. That could be a problem later. It could be. It doesn't take much to stop up that grill so they don't get
We're
the air
only in
they
lap.
need.
We're probably only in like
The
lap
roof
2.
cams are back at CBS and in NASCAR racing. NASCAR legislated them away. We brought them back here at Daytona with NASCAR's approval. You're right on top of the windshield of Jeff Bodine's car.
If you want to know what it looks like to the driver, this is as close as you can get. You go down in the corner, this is what we call the high groove. Up against the wall there, a lot of drivers feel it's safer on the high side. If something happens to
Lap
the car,
2.
you don't get the big run towards the outside wall.
Earnhardt's in
As you notice,
4th.
as they went through that
Michael
turn, it
Waltrip
didn't look
in
like it was
6th.
31 degrees of banking.
Rick Mast, or rather that's Jeff Bodine, a piece of debris up on the camera. And now Rick Mast right behind Jeff Bodine.
Andretti's
Dave Marcus
up
down
there.
low, starting his 31st 500 and 3 abreast. That's Mike Wallace as the meat in that sandwich as they come off the corner.
Boy, this is not a good area of the track to be running 3 abreast.
I suggest not
Not sure
to do
there is
that.
a good area of the track to run 3 abreast. Good
That's
point.
one thing you
Everyone
don't
makes
do
it
in
through
NASCAR.
okay. The front 7 cars have broken out single file.
Come on, Earnhardt, you can do it. Paper died.
From that back straightaway, tilting sharply into that 31-degree banking of turn 3. And there's those 7 cars out front, single file. Bobby Labonte, the engineer. Darrell Walker driving the caboose. Ralph Sheehan.
Engineer and caboose.
Mike, there was actually no problem with Jeff Gordon. In fact, crew chief Ray Evernham is proud of his driver. Apparently somebody in front of Jeff slowed down and Jeff ducked to the bottom to avoid him. He really saved the front end of the race car.
Good news for the defending champion of the 500. Now, Bill Elliott. Well, he's the burger, and the bun on the low side is Bobby Hamilton, and on the outside, number 2 is Rusty Wallace.
And there's not a thing in the world he can do about it, Mike. You don't want to be in that position, but what can you do about it? There's nowhere to go. Here comes Mark Martin in the 6th car there. That's the blue and white car. You can see on the bottom side, Bill needs to get in line right now. If he don't, he's just going to go to the back. He has some help. One looked over, decided not to go with him, so you can watch him just
Rusty's all the way back in,
You're riding with Mark Martin. That white dotted
5th lap.
line denotes the edge between the banking and the flat apron of the racetrack. Don't go left of that line.
Not unless you want to end up after you get to the wall and back down there again. That's where you'll finally end up.
Bill Elliott cannot find a lane. He is in the middle by himself, and that's no man's land because the groups just stream right past on either side. Now he's going to get some help from Dick Trickle, number 90, and he gets to the low groove.
Back here, Chad Little for a moment.
Daryl
was also
Waltrip
in
was all
that
what the
same
fuck is
position,
that? Come
but
on, Daryl, you can
Elliott
be.
got himself in a
Earnhardt still in fourth.
Bobby and Terry Labonte and Sterling Marlin, qualifying race winner on Thursday. With the two drivers that time trialed onto the front row. And look at that orange car on the top groove, Michael Waltrip coming.
And keep your eye just below him at Dale Earnhardt. He's moving up right now. You see the two of them side by side. Earnhardt gets the spot, moves in front of Michael Waltrip as they head down the back straightaway.
Now Michael, back of the fourth place car, Earnhardt, looking at Michael Waltrip, who drives for the Wood brothers, proud of that 76 victory with David Pearson and 72 with A.J. Foyt, perhaps poised to win it again.
You see Waltrip looking to the outside in the 125-mile qualifying races this week. He was very strong on the high side of the racetrack. That's Dale Jarrett just under him there, moving towards the front.
Dale Jarrett pulls up alongside in the low groove, and Dale Jarrett has 8 cars lined up directly behind him.
He has been running the low groove since the green flag dropped. Sometimes the high groove, they get a run off of there, can be better, but right now seems to be working pretty good for him.
And that 7-car single file line is now just 5 as they jostle behind the black car of Dale Earnhardt. Ernie Irvin down to the inside in that rainbow-colored number 36. One of the fastest cars in practice all week has been Irvin.
Yeah, he's very, very confident. I had dinner with him last night, and he just said, hey, I've got as good a car as I've ever had here.
Dick Berggren.
Roger Penske is a captain of American industry. He could be in one of the fighter suites here at Daytona. Instead, he is on top of the highest grandstand in the place, spotting for his driver, Rusty Wallace. Rusty just called up and said, Roger, where would you like me to run? High or low? He said, you're doing a good job. Just hang in there.
Now, look at Rusty and his teammate right there, Jeremy Mayfield. The 2 and the 12 cars similarly painted. They are teammates. Ned, they look like they've got a trailer hitch between them.
I'm sure that was planned, Mike. We saw a lot of cars drafting in practice out there yesterday together to see which ones worked good together, and Jeremy Mayfield was very, very good in that 12 car, so he's right there with his partner now.
Ernie Irvin still on the inside there. Outside of him, last year's pole setter, Mike Skinner. When they're running side by side and the Labonte boys are all single file like they are right now, the draft works so much better with cars in line than cars that are racing back in the pack on this spot. And you'll lose almost 2 and 3 tenths per lap to the lead cars when they're running single file.
42 cars still in the lead draft. The only one that's out of the draft right now is Darrell Waltrip.
Second place, Sterling Marlin on the inside. That blue and silver number 40.
Look who's coming with him. Here comes Earnhardt taking
over. Come on, Earnhardt can do this.
Dale Earnhardt has led every single lap number of the Daytona 500 except for 4 laps. One of them being, of course, lap 200, the final one. Now it's Jeff Bodine, the man in the middle. Ken Schrader in that black number 33 moves up just in front of Bodine's number 7. And way down on the bottom is Kyle Petty in 44. Ned, I'm a little surprised that those 5 cars running single file up front have not been able to get away from the 2-wide racing.
That is surprising. Most of the time when cars single out, they're able to run faster than cars running side by side. But look here, 4 abreast down the backstretch.
Jeff Gordon all the way on the flat part of the racetrack. The lines that you see there on the inside, that's not racetrack.
It was for a moment.
No, Dale's in third.
They'll come around to complete lap 11.
Watch number 33, Schrader. Fractured his sternum Thursday. Has a special flak jacket he's wearing today. Started 43rd. Now he's going up into the top 20. He is flying in that Andre Petrie prepared car. Many said that was the car to watch to win it. But with an injured driver, how could it possibly do with that? Morgan Shepherd is standing by to step in should Schrader not be able to go the distance. He was asked the other day, how far would he run? He said, oh, probably the first 200 laps.
That's how long this race is. Ken Schrader is wearing a flak jacket like rodeo cowboys wear. A bull rider's flak jacket. Ken Schrader's a bull rider if there ever was one.
He's a tough customer, no doubt.
Now he is last in that line on the inside of the racetrack up to 19th position after starting 43rd because he crashed his primary car on Thursday, had to run a backup car in the 500. Dick Berggren.
Mike, you wonder how hard Schrader hit the wall on Thursday. This is the steering wheel he was hanging on to. Look at how this thing is bent. It's all supposed to be straight, not even close to straight. Man, he's a tough guy to be out there racing right now.
Schrader won, steering wheel nothing.
Ned, you and I have probably bent them some, but I don't think I ever bent one that bad.
No, that was, as Dick said, he's a tough customer to be out there now. That's very determined because he could win an extra $1 million if he wins this race today.
He is third in that inside line. 13 laps complete. Bobby Labonte leads Sterling Marlin and Dale Earnhardt. Here's Ralph Sheen.
Kenny Schrader is racing with a heavy heart today as well. A young man by the name of Stephen Bradley recently passed away due to cystic fibrosis, one of Kenny's personal charities. On his bed, he said to Kenny, "Kenny, please win the Daytona 500 for me. It's the only thing I've ever asked from you." And that is what he is trying to do here today. His daughter Dorothy told him, "Daddy,
I got me
Stephen
some
is racing
chips, a
across
little
heaven cheering you on
soda.
today."
Watching NASCAR is what I love to do.
To do it, though, Schrader will have to get past Bobby Labonte, Sterling Marlin, Dale Earnhardt. Dale Jarrett in fourth, Derek Cope, the 1990 winner, in fifth. Terry Labonte now back to the sixth spot. Skinner, last year's pole sitter, is seventh. Michael Waltrip, eighth. Jimmy Spencer, Ernie Irvin. That's the top 10.
And right out of the top 10 is Jeff Gordon, who has come all the way from 29th up to 11th.
Side by side for the lead in the back straightaway.
Sterling Marlin's going to be a force. I predicted he was going to be the guy to watch today, and he's leading the race already. Earnhardt just in tow, just behind Bobby Labonte. They're trying to get up on the outside as you see them fighting side by side in the corner.
On the bottom, Derek Cope, that black number 30 car, edging past Earnhardt.
Earnhardt, come on, you
Move up
dumbass.
in line and secure third spot, and Earnhardt will have none of it.
He's not the easiest guy in the world to pass, as you can see. He's fighting
going.
back on the outside. Terry
Oh,
Labonte
just look at Earnhardt. He's like,
him right
"Yeet."
now. These guys are going at it.
Bitch, I'm going
There
by.
is no two-car draft, four-car draft. It's side by side all the way back through.
Hey, Oliver, what do you think of this?
15 laps complete. Sterling Marlin trying to hold off Bobby Labonte, Dale Earnhardt, and Derek Cope in the great American race.
I do like watching NASCAR.
18 laps complete. Dale Earnhardt, this is his 20th Daytona 500. He has now led 18 out of 20 trips to the beach.
Wow. There's a new sheriff in town, I think.
He's first! He's first!
Over right now. You see Bobby Labonte in second there, running very well. Sterling Marlin is complaining that the car is not running to suit him, but yet he's able to lead, and also he's in the top 3 right now.
Just watch it.
Here's the pass for the lead. Did Sterling just move over?
No, he got caught with the draft there. You can see the outside line had a good run at him, and they just went by him.
That's exactly what happened. Earnhardt knows how to work the draft off another car as good as anyone, better than most.
So now 7 cars pull away from the pack single file. Earnhardt, Bobby Labonte, Sterling Marlin, Derek Cope, Terry Labonte, Mike Skinner.
I wish Earnhardt, if Earnhardt was still alive,
But
I'd
behind
basically
Mike
go to
Skinner,
every
it's
race
still
they
a
do.
slugfest. There's the front
Saturday
5
passed.
as they work turn number 3. Skinner a little bit by himself in 6th place, but still feeling the draft. And back behind him, it's a war zone. Look at it.
Wow, you can see how close Hamilton and the 4-car come to hitting the wall as he come off the corner there. That was even too close to be.
There still hasn't been a crash yet. I'm still waiting for a crash. I've been waiting.
It looks as if the cars in the low groove of that pack are edging forward. Mike Waltrip, number 21, is the first car in the top groove, and it doesn't look like he's running quite as well.
There's Jeff Gordon.
Dale Jarrett's trying to follow him.
Jeff Gordon's right in the back, right behind him.
Cars are passing them by down on the inside.
Jeff
You're right.
Gordon.
Low group
I know
right
Dale
now seems
Earnhardt
to be
Jr.
working
got
best.
tired. He's not. He's gonna be part-time driver, not full-time.
Straightaway there.
set.
You know, the incredible part, they're running 200 miles an hour that close to each other, and the wind today is gusting a little bit. The cars are moving 3 to 4 feet in the corners at each other.
Dick Berggren.
As Dale Earnhardt leads this race today, everybody wonders, can he finally win it? Everything
We're up
seems
to
to have
about
happened to Earnhardt.
25
He's been
25
down.
minutes, and we're only up to 20
He has had a seagull
laps.
hit the front of the car. He's run out of gas. He's had a flat tire all while he's running in the front. And last night in the last practice session, he lost an engine. A push rod failed. Maybe the bad stuff is all done and over with, and today will be Earnhardt's day. Bill Stevens?
There's also a fresh engine in the number 2 car, Bobby Labonte's Pontiac. Yesterday in the last practice, they didn't think that motor had enough power. Jimmy Makar told me this morning that they have enough power to run up front all day long. It's a fresh engine right off the shelf. Ralph Shaheen.
Bill, while a lot of teams have been forming multiple Winston Cup teams to learn new speed secrets, the Bahari team of driver Derek Cope have been going over the pond and working with an upper echelon Formula One team to develop new things for Winston Cup competition. Seems to be.
Why must they always think that? Why did they rename the Winston
20
Cup?
laps,
That's
50
the one
miles,
thing you should have not
average
done.
speed 186
Earnhardt
miles
Sr.
per
probably
hour.
would have killed him.
We'll be working on Buddy Baker's record here today and keep this up. Oh.
1980, fastest 500 ever. Mr. Baker won it.
Well, that's why they call
Buddy
them records.
Baker.
They can't be broken. These guys are doing a great job out there right now. The one thing I'm watching is the Pontiacs. There is some concern that they, as they move along, they get better. They get faster. They have a tremendous amount of downforce, meaning they have good grip through the corners. And right now they're running second and fourth on the position here. And you can see the Pontiac is a major force this year.
The top forward at the moment is Michael Waltrip, who is running 8th.
Wah, wah, wah. Michael
Five cars
Waltrip.
begin to break away from 6th place Mike Skinner, trying to run down that single file draft. Skinner number 31 in blue and yellow.
I believe
I'm trying out the
to do it,
streaming thing for the
Mike,
first
now
time
that
anyway,
they've
so I might as well
sort of
just try
left
it.
back there behind.
I don't even know how long this might last. It's probably about
44, right side of your screen, that's Kyle Petty. His granddad won this race in '59. His father won it 7 times, and Kyle's making a charge. He started 39th. He's moved up to 16th.
3 Pontiacs on the top side of the racetrack right there. Petty, Andretti, and also Chad Little. They're coming on the high side and really moving by.
That red and white number 23 there, Jimmy Spencer, he was one of the favorites going into this race because he'd run so well in the qualifying race and the Bud Shootout last weekend. He got down on the inside, but just didn't go for it. Now he's getting up another line. Maybe he can pick up a little bit. 3 wide, going into the turn.
Chad Little on the high side, and that green car had to give way. Kenny Irwin Jr. in 28 was down on the bottom. And things got pretty close there going into turn 1.
Gordon's going up.
Bill Stevens.
One of the interesting things we're seeing today are the Pontiacs running well nose to tail. During practice this week, the crew chiefs for the Pontiac cars were saying that when they get together in the draft, they actually slow down. They worked very hard during happy hour yesterday. Some of the Pontiac teams obviously today have found the answer.
I got one viewer. Damn it, I lost it.
Pontiac won this race, Cale Yarborough, 1983.
1983. Yay, I'll be right back, guys.
A little further in that pack, Rusty Wallace and teammate Jeremy Mayfield have traded places to see if they'll work better. They're 3 wide again.
Ernie Irvin in the middle there. You can see him. He thought better of that move right there. On the outside there, Michael Waltrip is really running well on the high side of the racetrack.
Ernie Irvin and Michael Waltrip made the same move at the same time going in. They were going to move up to that groove, and Michael Waltrip had already committed himself too far, and Ernie wisely backed out of that situation.
It's awful early in the race. We have pit stops to consider. Racing right now, you're really getting an idea what you need to do as far as adjustments for later on in the race.
Let's check with Ralph.
With Michael Waltrip's number 21, the orange car. That gear change on Wednesday's late afternoon practice has made all the difference. He finished second in the twin 125s, and he's running up the front here, all because of one gear change.
Now that's Waltrip's 21 on the outside. He won the Winston All-Star race, but he's looking for his first point race win. Cloudy, cool, and very windy here at Daytona. Bobby Labonte said his car was really getting buffeted around. There's Mike Skinner on the bottom, 31. Michael Waltrip up top. Chevy versus Ford. And here are your leaders.
Mike, you can see the first 5 cars there beginning to get a little gap on the next group of cars there. That's because they're not racing. They're staying in line. These guys are double file.
And that's something we saw worked to very good effect yesterday.
Yes, we did in the 300-mile Grand National race. And just moments ago, 2 or 3 laps ago, those cars back there had singled out and had caught the front runners. Then they decided they wanted to go racing again. We'll see how quickly they can lose that draft and the others pull away.
But now those 5 cars in the lead draft are about to be joined by 3. Mike Skinner in 31 now has Michael Waltrip and Ernie Irvin working single file. The draft here is so important. Why?
Well, you have a car out front that's breaking the air up, and it's turbulating. If you've ever been in a boat and watched the water actually try to follow the boat from behind, that's what the air does as it goes over these race cars. It builds a vacuum that pulls the car behind towards the lead car. Also, you're not bucking any wind or anything in the second, third, fourth, and fifth car. So in line, it feels like you have 2 motors instead of 1 in there. You're really accelerating.
Dale Earnhardt, your leader, looking back at pole sitter Bobby Labonte, the green car, and just behind them, Sterling Marlin went up to the high side of the racetrack, and he is getting kicked well back in the field. Mike Skinner has gone past him, so is Michael Waltrip, and now too, Ernie Irvin.
Come on!
Got shuffled out coming off of turn 2. No one to help him up there. The others just drove by down on the inside. You can see Sterling Marlin in car number 40 is up there by himself with nobody drafting on him right now.
And that just proves Buddy's point. 1 car alone cannot run as fast as cars lined up single file. Ralph?
Mike, we talked to the crew chief, Tony Glover, for Sterling Marlin. They are getting a little bit loose in that number 40 car right now, and that's why he is drifting back. But 29 laps down, they've still got a long way to go to that first pit stop.
Anybody? Anyone's still watching. Who do you think might win the Daytona 500?
Most of the drivers that we are listening to on the radios are telling their crews they're having a hard time differentiating between chassis problems and the wind buffeting them around on the racetrack. That'll make it especially difficult for them to adjust the cars when they come in on pit stops.
Phillips!
Jeff
Phillips! What are you doing here?
Into the trioval here at the start finish. 18 degrees of banking. Let's see as they roll off into turn 1 just how much those cars are dancing around.
We're on the high side, and really you don't get the effects of the wind like
if you see notifications from Hangouts or Facebook, I got to tell you guys I broke the phone, so yeah, this is my new phone.
On the interstate and your car gets in that vacuum and it feels like it pulls you towards the truck as you go by. That's what the draft feels like. And if you have any extra
what lap were you even on? 30, I think.
Now Jeff Gordon pulled up.
Yeah, we're up on 30.
Number 2, just ahead, Rusty Wallace. Wallace came right down the racetrack to take that low lane away from Gordon.
Dew point.
30 laps complete.
30.
Dale Earnhardt, 20 years of trying to win the Great American Race. He is your leader. Bobby Labonte, Derek Cope, Terry Labonte, Mike Skinner, and Michael Waltrip. Dale Earnhardt leads the Daytona 500 after 34 laps. Pole sitter Bobby Labonte. See that big orange dot on the upper windshield of Labonte's car? That signifies he's one of 5 cars eligible for R.J. Reynolds' $1 million bonus. From finishing in the top 5 at Talladega in October, they can put an extra $1 million in the bank if they win here today. It's part of a season-long promotion.
And this race pays $1 million already to the winner, so one of those 5 drivers, if they could win it, that's $2 million. We have the first pit stop coming up right now.
Oh, here we go.
As we see them go down into turn 1.
Kyle Petty. Leaders.
Pit stop.
As green flag pit stops begin, this looks a little early as Kyle Petty comes in for right side
Hot Wheels? They had a Hot Wheels car? I did not know that.
Definitely early.
That guy's going to get pushed back all the way, which means he's probably
Earnhardt in a Chevrolet, Labonte's Pontiac, Derek Cope.
Dale Earnhardt.
Then Terry Labonte in 4th. Mike Skinner, Earnhardt's teammate, in 5th. Dick Berggren.
Pit stops will be coming up fairly soon. Larry McReynolds is crew chief for Dale Earnhardt. When will you pit and what will you
There goes
do?
that guy who was just in the pit.
We could run about 60 or 62 laps on fuel. But you know, at Daytona, you got to kind of go with the flow. You know, even though we can run that far, we may have to come a little early because that's when most of the group might come. But definitely change 4 tires. 4 tires early in the race means a lot here. Racetrack just keeps getting slicker and greasier.
Happy with the car?
Yeah, you know, right now, if I knew it was going to be leading, we'd have put more tape on it because it's pretty cool right now, but we can't count on leading all day long. And our tire carrier just made it, David Rogers, who had a baby girl about 8 o'clock this morning. So proud for him, proud to have him here now.
Well, Larry is not leading anymore. Here comes Bobby Labonte and Derek Cope with him.
Another Pontiac pushing a Pontiac as
Oh,
they go
fuck.
to Earnhardt, down through the tri-oval and down towards turn 1.
Buddy, we said on yesterday's show, to take the lead, you need to have a friend. Bobby Labonte found one there in Derek Cope.
One thing he has to do, though, he has to deal with the 3-car. Earnhardt fights back as they head to the back straightaway, side by side down through there.
And there's a bright bit of color right in that pack, and here it comes. Jeff Gordon is caught in the front pack. He nestles right up behind Dale.
Come on, Gordon. Dale, Gordon, whoever the...
Jared's been running high between turns 1 and 2, and Gordon saw that and said, hey, let me try that. They got a good run and picked off a couple of positions.
Jeremy Mayfield's number 12 inside of Jeff Gordon. And Jarrett. Terry Labonte inside, and he bumps Derek Cope. You'll see a big black donut, a wheel mark on the right side of Labonte's yellow and white machine.
Here comes Ernie Irvin making it through wide into turn 1.
Go.
These guys are going at it like it's the last lap.
And it's only the 38th lap.
And Gordon has moved down to the inside and is working, and there Terry Labonte gets another bump into Mike Skinner.
And Skinner may have brushed the wall in that encounter.
Oh, shit.
Gordon, Rusty Wallace go by unscathed.
Rusty Wallace, what's wrong with you?
Is it way too early for this kind of action?
Oh, way too early, Mike. No question about that. But as Larry McReynolds pointed out, the track is beginning to get slicker now. The tires are getting hot. They've been out there for almost 40 laps, sliding around a lot.
Terry Labonte is definitely having a little bit of trouble with his car. You can see the back of his car losing grip, getting a little bit sideways off the corner, and he had to chase it up the bank, and he got into Mike Skinner getting off the corner over there. Skinner hit the outside wall. Lucky we didn't have a caution there.
Joining that group of front cars there is Kenny Schrader, who started back in 31st, so he's done a great job of coming up through the pack.
Look at Labonte's car just in front of Martin Dance coming off the corner.
That's a pretty bad feeling when you have to turn right to go left. When that back end starts around, you have to steer into the slide, and that's going opposite of what you really need to do. Good handling race cars, you turn left to go left.
Off turn 4. Oh, and Labonte again, that car just wiggled loose just a bit. In the blink of an eye, you've got to catch it and set it straight. No, a blink would be too long.
You can see the flag there is really blowing around right now, but that's just part of the story. There's a 200-mile-an-hour wind out there between the cars, and when you get up beside somebody, the vacuum from the inside car to the outside car is unbelievable.
Earnhardt's still in
Three abreast
second.
again off turn 2. Ken Schrader in that green 33, and trying to squeeze between him and 99 Jeff Burton. It's Dale Jarrett, the 96 winner.
And look at Kenny Irwin, buddy. He has come from 38th position up there with the lead pack.
That's that black and red number 28. There's Irwin, the rookie. Bill Stevens.
Kenny Irwin is flying. Mark Reno, the crew chief, just told me the biggest problem they've had with him today is telling him to be patient. He has been wanting to get out of this double file deal since the beginning of the race, but remember, he crashed in one of the qualifiers the other day, and the spotters really trying to calm him down.
They ran him in the ARCA race the other day. He won the race, and he said, I had no idea how much I had to learn. And he learned so much by winning that race and actually getting in the competition before the Daytona 500.
Good Lord.
On board Kenny Irvin. Today's in-car telemetry provided by First Plus Financial.
First Plus Financial.
Pushed 190 miles an hour there at one point. 7 to 200 RPMs.
And he heads back toward the start-finish line. 41 laps complete. Bobby Labonte leads Dale Earnhardt. Ernie Irvin, Derek Cope, Jeremy Mayfield has fought his way into the top 5. And last year's winner, Jeff Gordon, is on the move.
6.
When you're racing racing for $2 million. Things get very close. Terry Labonte and 31 Mike Skinner that brushed together and with the wall just a bit ago. We are still under green from the drop of the first flag. 45 laps. Dale Earnhardt has gone back to the front.
Yeah!
Bringing Ernie Irvan and number 36 with him. A Chevy and a Pontiac. Derek Copes, number 30, in the fourth place. Chevrolet has led 23 laps today. Pontiac 22. Ford has not put a car up front. Not yet.
I am so impressed with Jeremy Mayfield running along here. I mean, he moved the fourth place
Hale's actually doing
way
good for
back.
once.
He's doing a super job right now.
I heard that the 1997 season he sucked. He did not get one win.
The lead back to like about 7th place.
That green car in the lead draft. Now they're put Irvan up on the outside.
Yeah, and look at Jeff Gordon on the inside there, just behind
shit,
Jeremy
Jeff Gordon coming
Mayfield.
up.
In the orange-nosed car, as he goes up in another position there, he moved all the way up into 5th right now.
Look at Irvan, alone in the top lane. He is being, as they say in the garage area, hung out to dry or
Hung
close
out to dry.
Nothing else with him. Now he is tacked onto the back of the lead draft, but it cost him 3 spots.
Gordon in 4th now. He's moving up.
100-mile average, 186.8 miles per hour.
186.5 miles an hour. God damn. I always love it whenever they go by. It sounds so weird.
That's as close as we can show you to how fast that feels, folks. Someday you have to come here. Stand next to that fence and feel it for yourself.
I can't because I got no damn money to
Coming 200 miles an hour, and I couldn't get out of the way.
47 laps.
One car way up high, almost brushing the wall back of the leaders as they try to work in that second pack.
God damn.
And that was Michael Waltrip in 21. He really kicked the dust up at the top of the wall, but don't believe he made any contact with it.
Michael was up there in the top 5 a little while ago, but now has dropped back to around 10th or 11th.
He and Mark Martin drafting together. Those are 2 of the new Ford Taurus body style.
Guys, it's time to talk about pit stops a little bit. There's a lot of things going on down there. You can see the crew starting to move around, getting ready for the first pit stop. Deals are being made. Who will they come in with? Everybody's trying to pick it up here.
Oftentimes, when the leader comes to pit road under green, many of the top contenders follow. But crew chiefs and their emissaries scurry up and down pit road, talking to other teams, trying to make deals on who might stop when. At the front of the field, Dale Earnhardt, as he's been so many times before, and this time, just as on the last lap of 1990, he has Derek Cope filling up his rearview mirror. That time, Earnhardt cut down a tire and Cope went on to victory. Pit stops begin. This is Andy Hillenberg in the Sadler Brothers Chevrolet.
Oh, Hillenberg's already in pit stop.
Making his first stop of the day.
You know, I never wondered. I forgot what actually happened to Earnhardt.
49 laps. Man, getting close. Let's check with Dick Berger. And Dick, have they
Already
made a deal
1/4 in whenever it reaches
how
50.
long will they wait?
Well, it's hard to tell if they really have made a deal. I can answer your second question, and the answer to it is 9 more laps, and Earnhardt is going to be in. I can also tell you that we have had men with virtually every uniform from the front group in Earnhardt's pit trying to make that deal with Larry McReynolds. It's a good bet that they all will come in at the same time and that they all will take 4 tires, Mike.
50 laps will be halfway, 125, or rather will be 125 miles, quarter distance. 41 of 43 cars on the lead lap.
And one car comes off into the pits. It looked like Ernie Irvan, first of the front runners that will be making
50. Okay, so now we're
It is indeed
a
Ernie
fourth
Irvan
of
in
the
towards
race.
the pit. Number 36.
Bill Stevens.
Ernie Irvan slides into the pit. Ryan
Oh, it's the Skittles car!
From the Interstate
It's
Battery
Skittles!
Body car, and their deal was, let's do 4 tires. They only wanted to do 2. But Bobby said, well, my car's a little bit shaky out there. I'm going to need the 4. So Ernie Irvan and Bobby Labonte should be getting tires.
By the way, I'm
on
going to
all 4
request everyone.
corners.
Should I do a
Also,
NASCAR
2
series or
rounds of
not?
to the right rear, and away Ernie goes.
I might do it, maybe.
Ernie Irvan, though, by pitting by himself, has
Ernie
lost
Irvan.
that lead draft. Good stop, 19.5 seconds. Dave Marcus is in.
The one thing Ernie Irvan does not want to see now is a caution flag. He would go a lap down. He is on the same straightaway with the leaders. They'll put him a lap down going through the second turn over there.
You cannot make a pit stop at Daytona without losing a lap. The NASCAR mandated 65-mile-per-hour speed limit down pit road is largely responsible for that. Earnhardt picks up the draft off Ernie Irvan, and he will pull the field past him, as Irvan will need a full lap and then some to come up to full speed.
With these restrictor plate engines, it does take more than a lap to come up to full speed. Nothing you can do about it, just sit there and watch him drive by.
Shit. I thought that guy was coming in.
Greg Sachs, number 98, is in, and Steve Grissom, last year's front row starter, driving for Cale Yarborough, a multiple winner of this event. Greg Sachs makes his first stop of the day. The leaders stay out. Earnhardt, Colt, Mayfield, the youngster from Kentucky, up to third, and Jeff Gordon, the youngest driver to ever win this event, is up to fourth place.
4 cars from the back of the field coming into the pits. Big group of them coming in.
Ted Musgrave is in. John Andretti part of that group as well.
Steve Park, Bobby Hamilton, Rick Mast,
and Jerry Nadeau.
And also Ricky Rudd.
Ricky Rudd!
Most of these are cars that started in the second half of the field, and seeing the leaders move away and seeing their cars running a little bit slower, feel that putting on new tires will pick them up in speed. That's why they're in a little earlier than some of the leaders. Now here come the Roger Penske and Penske Cranafis
Most of them are
cars
going into the
onto
pit.
pit road. Teammates Jeremy Mayfield and Rusty Wallace.
Boy, Sterling Marlin tried to get in. Apparently felt he was going too fast, slid the wheels, slowed down too much. He's going to lose a tremendous amount of time. Sterling Marlin, he's not up to speed, and he'll have to come in perhaps the next time around.
Chad Little is in. Bill
Rusty Wallace
Elliott,
up to
late speed,
fifth.
making pit stops. Ken Schrader, Steve Park. Ricky Craven has to back up into his pit stall and backs into the 77 of Robert Presley. Excuse me.
Well, that cost him a lot of time, too. Ricky Craven having to back up there, and every second that you lose in the pits is a long way out on that racetrack.
Mike Wallace, Kenny Irwin, Billy Standridge all making their first pit stop. We've been green since the drop of the first flag.
Jeff Gordon.
That's the thing I've wondered. They haven't had an accident yet, and that's... Oh, Jeff Gordon's going in.
Walker's coming with him, and Mark Martin.
Long pit stop for Ricky Craven. Here's Ralph Shaheen.
Mike, they were hoping to have somebody
Rainbow.
come down pit road with them, but they got to the point where they had to come in one way or the other. Jeff really had to drive hard to find his way up into the lead pack. Jack Van Barry Muse leads the crew around to the right side.
Pit time. Let's see how fast this will take.
They're not planning on making any chassis adjustments on this number 24. They will take on 4 tires and send this rainbow-colored car back out as quickly as they can.
Also stopping on this lap, Michael Waltrip, Jeff Burton, Jeff Bodine, Mark Martin,
17.7 seconds. Shit!
Trickle, and Darrell Waltrip. Now Sterling Marlin is in.
Sterling finally got back to the pits. He made a miscue there trying to come in a moment ago. And here comes a couple of other front runners, Terry Labonte and Dale Jarrett.
Sterling Marlin's pit. Right side tires, 11 gallons of gasoline in each of those gravity-fed cans. And here is Terry Labonte, the outside pole sitter, and Dale Jarrett to his pit.
At first I thought this was Dale Earnhardt Jr., and I was like, never mind, no, it isn't. Oh my God, give him fucking water.
There for Terry Labonte, a wipe of the grill. They use those long poles because only 7 men are allowed to go over the pit wall and service the car. Everything else is done with a long reach from behind pit wall.
That one basically
More tires,
hurt.
tank of gas, cold drink, clean windshield. Goodbye. Terry Labonte back in the race. And Earnhardt stays on the racetrack with Derek Cope and his Childress Racing teammate, the blue and yellow car of Mike Skinner in third.
Larry McReynolds told them down in the pits that they could go 60 laps. That was a very
Question, is Earnhardt in third?
150 miles on a tank of fuel that he's hearing that right now.
Or is he still in first?
Well, yeah, I hope he's right, because I tell you, if you run out of gas here, that's a long ways to coast around this 2.5-mile racetrack.
Maybe he's still in first.
Dale Earnhardt has lost this race in almost every way imaginable. In 1986, he ran out of gas while leading.
What?
And we said that you couldn't make a pit stop and not lose a lap. Well, Jeff Gordon and Rusty Wallace have. They're right in front of the leaders, and they've made their pit stops.
That's almost a lap, but
That's almost a lap, yes. Yes. Boy, they had great pit stops and got in and out the pits very good.
And they are back up to speed.
And that's kind of a break for Earnhardt. You don't use as much fuel in the draft to fall under these cars along there, so this is stretching that fuel mileage just a little bit more.
The reason there are less cars in this lead draft is that when those cars are stopped on pit road, the rest of the field is moving down the racetrack, eating up a football field's worth of distance every second. So if you lose 1 second on the pit stop by taking a little bit longer to change a tire or to fill with gas or to get going, well, that means everybody else on the racetrack is 300 feet ahead of you.
Okay, Earnhardt coming in right now.
Here we go, Earnhardt going in, guys.
Derek Combs comes down pit road with him.
He's gonna lose a lap.
65 miles an hour, looks like they're stopped. Bobby Labonte and Mike Skinner coming in at the same time. Dick Berggren.
Go, 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 go.
At Daytona. Oh, Earnhardt smokes the tires coming in. Remember last year at Daytona, Earnhardt's crew was very slow. They changed the members on that crew since then, and in fact, there are 2 new outside front and rear tire changes. Jack Lewis on the front, Craig Lund on the rear are new this year. Earnhardt and the 30 Cope came in together. They are going to do their same service.
21.4 seconds.
Up and gone. Cope right behind him. They're going to try to hook up and see if they can continue to run fast. 21-4 on Earnhardt.
Earnhardt comes off pit road. That yellow line is the blend line. You must stay inside that line and then gently blend up into traffic. And all 4 cars there that went into the pits together come out of the pits together.
That's a tribute to those guys in the pits, changing those tires.
But Ned, you see, is there in the bottom lane. It takes a full lap to get up to speed. And Jeff Gordon moves on past Dale Earnhardt. Gordon is the new leader.
God damn it.
Pit stops will do. Jeff Gordon wasn't leading when they come in, but he's leading now. Must had a great entrance to pit road, got back up to speed well, had a great pit stop.
Ray Evernham, Gordon's crew chief and mentor, and those Rainbow Warriors gave Jeff Gordon a good stop, and that's why he leads the Daytona 500.
Rusty Wallace got a good stop also, and he's running second.
I'm waiting for someone to just run out of gas.
Mike, this top tire here is the one that came off the right front of Sterling Marlin's car. You can see he had gotten a cut. It didn't explode like this right away. He stayed out on the track and kept running on it and running on it. As it lost air out of that little hole, it finally let go and just about shed its skin. He's lucky he didn't get it into the wall.
Sterling Marlin trying to win this race again. Here are your front duo, Gordon and Wallace. You're riding with the leader and defending champion of the Daytona 500.
Don't fucking win.
We'll be right back to the Daytona 500. Thanks, Ken. You saw Dale Earnhardt there at 9th place after a round of pit stops. And the drivers who pitted with him are in that inside line there on track 2. Earnhardt's stop was 21.4 seconds. The man leading the race, Jeff Gordon, had a 17.7 second stop, and that made all the difference.
Like we talked about it in the introduction to the race today, it's so important. Track position, I can't begin to tell you, as close as these cars are matched right now to be in that front draft.
Here with Dale Jarrett. Now there's Ernie Irvan just ahead, the car that pitted all by himself. Irvan had a good stop, and he's in 3rd place. Just ahead of him, Rusty Wallace, and out front, leader Jeff Gordon. But that pack has formed up once again among the cars that got good pit stops.
And a guy who might have had a good pit stop, but he miscued coming into the pits was Sterling Marlin, former 2-time winner of this race. He's about to go a lap down. He's not far from being a lap down, and boy, that is just going to kill him for today.
Now those cars on the inside line pitted with Earnhardt. There is Mike Skinner, his teammate in 31, Bobby Labonte in 18, and they picked up a hitchhiker in that inside lane, Steve Park. The former modified ace, winner of Grand National races last year, is 1 lap down. He is driving a car owned by Dale Earnhardt, and he has picked up their draft to try and help propel them back to the front. That right side of your screen, that yellow and black car, is Park from Long Island, another second-generation NASCAR driver.
Of course, his dad, Bob Park, one of the top modified drivers.
Finished second to Richie Evans in the national championship one year. This is the group they're trying to catch. Jeff Gordon, Rusty Wallace, Ernie Irvan, and Dale Jarrett. Dick Berggren.
Rusty Wallace, currently running in second place, has put forth an absolutely Herculean effort on this race car. That car is a brand new vehicle, but it's had 6 different bodies on it. They put a body on the car, take it to a wind tunnel, learn something, cut it off, and try all over again. They've been to 2 full-size wind tunnels, a 40% wind tunnel repeatedly, a tremendous amount of track time at both Talladega and here. They mean to do better than 7th, which so far has been their best ever finish in the Daytona 500.
Come on, we need...
One of the things some of the teams are concerned with this week in practice was uneven tire wear. I just looked at the tires that came off Ernie Irvin's car in that last pit stop. Ryan Pemberton, the crew chief, looked at him as well and said, boy, they look pretty darn good. After Ernie left the pits, he radioed back, and Ryan said, hey, buddy, your rubber looks pretty darn good after so far in this race.
Mark Martin makes a move to the outside, and then babbling number 6 takes a spot from Terry Labonte, the outside pole sitter, and now Labonte's hung out to dry on the inside.
You would have to speculate Terry Labonte's experience handling problems. He was loose a little while ago, and I don't think they've corrected it. He's going backwards right now.
68 of 200 laps complete. Terry Labonte back to about 8th position in that draft. Ralph Shaheen.
This is the right front tire off of Jeff Gordon's car. Now remember, he started 29th in the race. As he came up through the pack, he was behind cars. He developed a bad push due to the wind buffeting around the car. The tire tells a story. 140, 190, 200 degrees across the width of the tire. This means this car was pushing severely as it was going through the corners. Now that he is out front, the car's nice and loose. It's not so bad. The tire temperatures will be a lot different the next time around.
A great charge by Gordon. But the greatest charge in the history of this race, Fireball Roberts, 1959, started 46th. Without a caution flag, he had the lead by lap 23.
Damn.
Took Jeff Gordon 59 laps to lead after starting in 29th. He's gained 28 positions.
That's Sterling Marlin. As you know, he was leading the race, and Jeff Gordon's fixing to put him a lap down. Look at these cars fighting in the back here. Earnhardt side by side with Chad Little. That's Ward Burton just behind him. They're moving up on the lead pack.
That's through 6th through about 20th there.
Side by side for 6th place, the black car Earnhardt. In green and yellow, Chad Little. You're with Dale Earnhardt as he chases Mark Martin down the straightaway to turn 1.
Dale Jarrett all the way up against the wall there. Everybody's got an idea right now of where their car runs the freest. Dale Jarrett right now would love to have somebody to help him on the high side. You can see Earnhardt's got a toe of the car just in front of him there, Mark Martin. So they're going to go right by Jarrett going down in the corner.
Ward Burton in 22 will be moving up there on the inside. There he is, or rather there's Earnhardt, and right with him is Ward Burton. You're on board Dale Jarrett, that Robert Yates Ford. The outside lane.
He finally got some help. Chad Little's up there with Dale Jarrett. Just for a moment there, he was pedaling backwards, Ned.
Well, he made a move on Ernie Irvin on the outside, trying to take over 3rd position. That's when it all started, and nobody followed him over there for a while, and it really hurt.
Well, sometimes you just got to go blaze a new trail and hope you get some help. Mike Skinner now in 31. That Childress Chevrolet pulls up behind Chad Little's Jack Roush, number 97.
Now they pulled up on Sterling Marlin. I said a moment ago he was about to go a lap down. That's the 40 car right in front of Jeff Gordon. Now if he can stay there, he'll be okay, similar to what Jeff Gordon did a year ago. You know, remember he had a flat tire early in the race, and he was about to get lapped, and the leaders came around. He was able to stay in front of them when the caution came out. Well, he got it all made up. So if Sterling Marlin could do that, you know, it might not be hurt too bad.
If Jeff Gordon passes him, Marlin has lost 1 lap to all the cars on the lead lap. Should that caution flag come out, he's got to fight to stay there.
Back in the back, they're getting restless. You can see them doubling up back there. And I think a lot of cars right now would like to get up in the front so they can actually drive the racetrack and not have to worry about competition back in the back.
Bobby Labonte trying to pick his way back to the front in that bright green number 18, owned by Super Bowl winning coach Joe Gibbs. Joe Gibbs told Dan Marino, who's a new NASCAR car owner, this isn't near as easy as winning football games.
You know, they talk about a driver just riding along. You can see Jeff Gordon's arm in that last picture there. He's working that steering wheel pretty hard through the corners. You can see him just really right on the edge all the time. Hands moving really fast to keep that car right on the edge and keep it fast through the corners.
Average speed, even after pit stops, the average speed for this race, 184.1 miles per hour. Sterling Marlin, number 40, trying to stay on the lead lap and avoid being passed by race leader, number 24, Jeff Gordon. CBS Sports coverage of the Daytona 500 will continue after this message and a word from your local CBS station.
We're already up to an hour.
76 laps complete in the biggest race of the NASCAR season, the Daytona 500. Jeff Gordon, number 24, the race leader. Rusty Wallace, Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt, and Chad Little has fought his way up to 5th place.
Boys, I tell you what, the Taurus is beginning to show its strength right now. Second, third place right there. Rusty Wallace is just behind him. Mark Martin.
About to put a lap on the rookie, Jerry Nadeau.
Nadeau's had an interesting career. No cautions yet today, as you see. He started out racing go-karts for 5 years, then moved to open-wheel Formula cars. Road raced here in the United States and in Europe, but decided to come back to America and try his hand at stock cars. He drove a couple for Richard Jackson, and now moves on to this new team owned by Bill Elliott and Dan Marino. And number 13, Jerry Nadeau, has been impressive this week.
The other thing I see, Earnhardt, up to 4th already. He's showing a lot of strength today. The car must be just perfect for him.
Dale Earnhardt's black number 3, right side of your screen, did not have a quick pit stop, but has come back fighting to the front.
Now, we talked about Sterling Marlin a moment ago, being able to hold on up front. He was not able to, and he has gone that lap down.
That's Marlin up on the high side, getting overpassed. Rather, that is Mike Wallace there. Marlin a little deeper in the pack.
Mike, we saw the problems that Terry Labonte was having earlier in the race with the loose race car. Well, they were able to help him a little bit and tighten him up some just during that last pit stop. The problem is they have not gone far enough. That car is extremely loose. Terry's just trying to hang on to the next round of pit stops.
Labonte, number 5, running just ahead of Ward Burton and Lake Speed. And here is your lead pack once again. Nadeau doing a good job of hanging on to the lead lap.
Yeah, he's running in 30th position.
Yeah, but he's fixing to go a lap down. You can see Gordon. Look at all the lead cars there as they get single file. That's what happens in the draft. I mean, you're just out. There's nothing you can do. Nadeau's driving a perfect line around the racetrack, but these guys hooked up there, they just go right by him.
Jerry Nadeau, though, he's going to learn a lot about drafting at 190 miles an hour this week.
Certainly will. This is a great experience for him. He did a good job in the 125-mile qualifying races on Thursday.
And there's Nadeau being overpassed by Bobby Labonte and Derek Cope.
Some people might think that I'm getting into NASCAR. I am, but I'm still going to like
Cope in the
steam
Bahari
locomotives.
Racing ride vacated by Johnny Benson
That's one
after
thing.
last season.
I'm going to still like steam locomotives. Just NASCAR
Torn
trying
up
to
in a
just come
crash
in
not
with
of his own making in Thursday's qualifying race. Has to sit out the 500, one of 13 drivers that came here to run and had to go home.
Chad Little in the green car, running in 5th place there. That's a Thunderbird.
9:20 to go.
Going on towards the front a little more.
4 teams this year have the option of using the newly approved Taurus body style or the Ford Thunderbird. They can use a 98, 97, or 96 model year car. For Chevrolet, the Monte Carlo. For Pontiac, the Grand Prix. Those are the approved models. Most of the Ford teams have elected to go with the Taurus right from the start of the season. 3 in this race have elected to stay with the older body style, the Thunderbird. The choice is up to each individual team owner.
I bet they're thinking right now, I'm going to call my body man as soon as the race is over and get my Taurus on there.
Well, Little having a good run here. He pulls out with Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt makes a move down on the inside, but there's Dale Jarrett. He moved to the outside. That might cost him.
The second through 5th place cars in line have never won the Daytona 500. This man has. Dale Jarrett twice. You can see that line snake back and forth.
As they try to either break the draft or pick up a little momentum.
I think Chad Little wants to go. Here he comes up alongside Earnhardt.
Oh,
Chad
shoot.
Little has to be just thrilled to death. Joined the Jack Roush racing team, and you can see this guy is for real. He just passed Earnhardt.
Did it basically by himself, too. He didn't have a great deal of help. I mean, not right on his back bumper. Bobby Labonte was back there for a moment, but well, that's pretty impressive.
Well, now he has his teammate just in front of him, Mark Martin. Can they run these guys down? Right now they're nose to tail, working towards the front.
That allowed Bobby Labonte to come right back up into contention. Number 18, the pole sitter, and one of 5 drivers vying for that $1 million bonus should they win today. The others are Terry Labonte, Ernie Irvan, Kenny Schrader, and John Andretti.
I've been watching Bobby Labonte. I mean, that car has come from way back and run this lead back down. See Earnhardt looking to the outside. Right now, Bobby Labonte may be the fastest car on Speedway.
18 laps from halfway, and we are caution-free thus far.
Here he comes to the outside. Bobby Labonte looks. Can he make the move going down into turn 1?
He's got some help. No, he doesn't. Earnhardt was his best friend right up on his bumper, and then Dale took the number 3 to the bottom of the racetrack and zoomed on past.
Now he comes up there and says, me now, Bobby. Moves up in front of him.
Doubt that.
Buddy, that looked like the old Daytona slingshot you folks would pull with those Hemi-powered Dodge cars back when they had unrestricted horsepower and not so great aerodynamics.
Well, it's back to drivers right now, but I tell you, when you make a move like that, you hope you don't have to count on him when it really counts.
Dale Jarrett was up in that top 3, and now he's back to 11th place.
Got out of the groove down on the inside, and no drafting partner there, and boy, they just went by him right on the outside.
That's Michael Waltrip just ahead in the Wood Brothers Ford.
The great part of the draft is if you get with the right company around you, you can go from 11th to 1st in 2 or 3 laps if you get a good run.
Look ahead of him, buddy, side by side up there in 4th place. Earnhardt and Chad Little.
Chad right by himself. That's not good. He needs some help.
Earnhardt has Bobby Labonte with him. Earnhardt number 3, Labonte at 18, and they draw a bead on the Ford Taurus. Mark Martin number 6. Boy, I love that new shot that hangs out overhead of turn 4 like a traffic light would.
Okay, you're seeing 2 distinctive different styles of driving right now. Earnhardt has got the outside groove working when he needs it. He'll tuck in every once in a while, and then he'll fare out a little bit, run the high side. He knows he has that part of the racetrack if he needs it.
50 years of NASCAR racing, 40 Daytona 500s, and perhaps never one as much in doubt as to the outcome of this one. 15 laps to halfway. Last year's winner, Jeff Gordon, leads Rusty Wallace. 16 years he's been looking to lead and win this race. So is Mark Martin, so is Dale Earnhardt. So is Bobby Labonte, Chad Little, Derek Cope, Jeremy Mayfield, Mike Skinner, and Ernie Irvan, the top 10.
Earnhardt is in 4th.
Welcome back to Daytona. Our Aflac trivia question: who was the last driver to win the Daytona 500 in consecutive years?
Well, it hasn't been too long ago, Mike. That one's pretty easy.
Sterling Marlin. Wanted for the team that Bobby Hamilton is driving for today, and Jeff Gordon is trying to win it in consecutive years today. Bobby Hamilton running near the tail end of the lead lap, though, in 28th position. Lee Petty in 1959, Marvin Patch in 1961, and Fireball Roberts in 1962 drove to victory lane in a Daytona 500 run without a caution flag. Fireball was the first driver to win this race, starting on the pole.
Mike, I have to wonder if Earnhardt might be getting a little bit of chassis problems. He made a great run up towards the front. Now he's moving out on the racetrack and beginning to show a little bit of looseness off the corner. The back of the car seems to be dancing around a little bit.
Earnhardt with Bobby Labonte close behind. 89 laps complete. Let's visit with Ken Squire.
The man of the hour is Buddy Baker. That's the big story. His record has stood since 1980 of averaging 177 miles an hour to win this race over 500 miles. Now, consider that when he did that, there were 15 laps of caution in that race, and he still powerhoused the field to establish that mark. But it's in jeopardy because as we're coming to halfway, they're averaging 184.7 today. So Buddy Baker's mark that has stood all these years is the one they're talking about in the press center right now.
Well, I certainly hope that we don't have a caution. I love the idea of having the record, but I want these guys to be safe for 500 miles, and competition's what the thing's all about. They're doing a great job today.
Jeff Gordon trying to take Baker out of the record book right here. 184-mile-an-hour average. Rusty Wallace right with him. You're in with Mark Martin. Here's Dick Berggren.
Mark Martin currently running in third position. It's a bit of a surprise because they got a real late start trying to get their cars ready for Daytona. They were hoping for some rules considerations from NASCAR. They didn't get them. They got started late, and all week long they have been saying, we may not be a factor. We're really not ready for the Daytona 500. But the crew has worked hard on Martin's car. They've done their work on the chassis rather than the aerodynamics. He's flying today. It is, most importantly, a brand new crew and a brand new crew chief. For the first time in 10 years, Mark Martin does not have Steve Meal as his crew chief here at the Daytona 500.
And right now he doesn't have a drafting partner, Dick. He's on the outside, and the train's going by him down on the inside.
Jeremy Mayfield, number 12, pulls alongside. Bobby Labonte has gone past.
I cannot tell you what a great job Jeremy Mayfield doing at this moment. Derek Cope's going with him in the 30 cars. You see him come across Mark Martin going down the back straightaway there. Jeremy Mayfield running the race of his life right now.
There weren't inches between Cope's car and Mark Martin's when Cope slid across up into the high lane in front of Mark Martin. 190 miles an hour, the thickness of the Sunday paper apart. Kyle Petty on pit road, 4-tire change.
Last car on the lead lap in 29th place, but he was the earliest one to pit before Mike, so he's a little off sequence from the others.
Jeff Gordon is pulling this train around Daytona, but it's Rusty Wallace, the man who wants to lead. He has not led the Daytona 500 since 1991. He sits there in second place in Roger Penske's number 2. In the last 5 Daytona 500s, Wallace has been running at the finish only once. Earnhardt to the inside on Wallace, who comes right down to slam the door on his nose.
Nada.
And that means
not gonna make it. These guys are going at it right now. You don't only race out of the windshield. You have a mirror in there that's almost a foot wide to look at your competition back there. You'll see right there. He pulled over a little bit, protecting that spot.
Earnhardt went to the inside, and Rusty Wallace did the same thing.
Rusty saw it coming. He said, no, sir, I'll block that spot. That's mine.
Behind them, they're 3 abreast in that pack. As they try to get past Nadeau, Ernie Irvan was 3 abreast with Derek Cope. Mark Martin, they are again. It's Michael Waltrip on the inside.
Wow, what a drive by Michael Waltrip. Down into turn 3, got a great run off the corner there. The guys were kind of racing side by side. He got a great slide. But look at Chad Little on the outside of the 97 fighting back.
That's the green car.
Mark Martin, his teammate, both of those Roush cars. Mark Martin on the outside there in the white-blue 6, white-blue 6.
5 laps to halfway. In the Great American Race, Jeff Gordon leads Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt. Daytona International Speedway, the biggest race of NASCAR, the Daytona 500. And as they come across the stripe in 2 laps, one of those drivers will be $10,000 richer for leading the halfway lap. Mike Joy with Buddy Baker and Ned Jarrett. Ken Squire above victory lane. Dick Berggren, Ralph Shaheen, and Bill Stevens on pit road. 96, 97, and 98 are 3 of the 4 laps of this race that Earnhardt has never led. The other is lap 200. Earnhardt's trying, though, every lap. He goes upside, Rusty Wallace. He goes downside. It sounds like that Chumbawamba song.
Well, that'll work right now, but I wouldn't want to do that to Earnhardt with 10 laps to go, I can tell you that. You might get a different view. You might be looking in the mirror watching the straightaway get longer. Let's take a lap with Earnhardt. That's the start-finishing line. You can see the orange line across, out against the wall, down the straightaway, following Rusty Wallace in the draft. They'll go to the bottom of the racetrack. Earnhardt goes up. That's the difference in two ideas of what it takes in this part of the race. Earnhardt's in the high groove, Rusty Wallace and those guys right on the white line on the bottom. Against the wall down the back straightaway, you can see them move over to get in the slipstream, so you get that extra toe from the car in front of you. As they head down into turn 3, you can see a lap car there as they start to the high side to get by.
Someone's out. Someone's already out.
The 2 car there. Rusty Wallace moves up. Now watch them when they come to the straightaway here. They go right out against the wall and right back into the tri-oval. That's a lap around Daytona.
And it's the halfway lap. Ring the cash register for Jeff Gordon. He picks up $10,000. 14 times the halfway leader has gone on to win the Daytona 500, including Bill Elliott twice, Richard Petty twice, Buddy Baker in 1980, where she led almost every lap that year.
Yeah, I had a great car, a great team. That's what it takes. I said at the start of the race, it takes great teams, but it's took great teams since the day the first Winston Cup race was ever run. Somebody had an advantage by having great people to work with them, so you can't take all the credit being the driver, believe me.
Bobby Allison did that twice. So did Cale Yarborough. Once, Junior Johnson, Mario Andretti, A.J. Foyt, and Davey Allison, along with Baker, led the halfway lap and went on to win. This is Jeff Gordon leading the Daytona 500, trying to win it 2 years in a row.
You see the tape in the middle of the steering wheel. That centers up the steering. If he was to get in a spin where he had to center up to know where he was back straight, that keeps it. And also when you make a pit stop, you can get the wheel straight so you know where they're at there with that tape. When it's straight up, that's straight ahead.
Looking out the windshield of Jeff Gordon's car, and according to NASCAR rules, once you reach the halfway point of the race, if it should be called for darkness or rain, the race would be official. So we'll have a completed Daytona 500 today.
And the sun popped out just as we hit halfway. So.
Yeah, it looks the best here right now, but it's looked all day long. Certainly better than the forecast.
They call that Bill France weather here in Daytona. Since Bill France Sr. built this speed plant in 1959, this race has never been rained out. It's been raining at 11:30 in the morning, and we've still started on time, gotten the whole race in. It's been rain shortened, but never rained out. Dick Berggren.
Jeff Gordon just called into his pit crew, and I'll tell you what, it's bad news for everybody else out here. Gordon said, I quote, "I don't know what we can do to make this car any better. It's awesome." Oh boy.
Well, Doctor, that means cha-ching if he's perfect, because that car is running flawless. You can see he still has to work pretty hard in the corners. His hands are still moving pretty hard on the steering wheel. It's not just a ride around in the park. They still have to keep that car under control every second.
Breaking away from the field, Jeff Gordon, Rusty Wallace, Dale Earnhardt, and Bobby Labonte. That one car by itself in 5th place trying to run them down just behind these leaders. There's Jeremy Mayfield, and Ned, it looks like he's catching them.
Well, he dropped back a little bit, and he's trying to get back in the line of the draft. He has a fast race car. We've talked about him several times today. He's done a great job, so he might be easing back up on them.
Coming in.
Some people like the opera sound. To me, that's the prettiest thing I've ever heard. When those cars come off the corner like that.
Pit stops, buddy. Is this Ernie Irvan?
Ernie Irvan's in the pits. He stopped, if you can remember, just a little bit before the leaders last time on pit stops.
We expect the leaders in 2 more laps. Bill Stevens.
Down here with Ernie Irvan, this will be a 4-tire stop for the 36 car. Also, they're going to take 1 round of wedge out of the right rear. There you see they're cranking on the back of the car. Right side rubber is on, left side rubber going on right now. They want to get back into the lead draft. It's very important. These Pontiacs are very quick when they're in the lead draft. They don't like to trail anybody, and that was the beauty of a pit stop.
That overhead view among the 85 lenses available to Director Larry Cavallina.
God damn.
Most ever for a single location, single day sporting event. And that chrome foil number on the roof of Irvan's car denoting he's one of those 5 cars that could win the $1 million bonus today.
And a lap back right now. You can see the leader putting him 1 lap down right at the moment.
Happened to him the first round of pit stops also.
But it was a little further on the back straightaway, so he did lose a little bit of time this time to what he did before.
Jeff Gordon, last year the Winston Cup champion for the 2nd time, and the Daytona 500 champion for the 1st time. Rusty Wallace, right behind him.
We talked a little bit ago about the sun coming out now. The difference is going to warm the temperatures, and sometimes that makes a difference on the racetrack, especially in the handling of the race cars. So it'll be interesting to see who it helps and who it hurts.
Ned, you're correct on that. What you have here, you have a racetrack that has a lot of races on it, and when the thing gets oil and rubber on it, it begins to get a little slick anyhow, even without the sun. When the sun gets on it, it makes all that stuff kind of greasy, and the cars really change on you.
Now a piece of tape going on the grill of Rick Mast's car there, trying to get a little more downforce on the nose of that car. It's running cool enough to permit the use of that tape. Close off a little grill, get a little more downforce, get a little more speed.
4200, wheel straight, foot on the brake. Dave got him in.
That is crew chief Ray Evernham, former modified racer himself. He's crew chief and mentor to Jeff Gordon, the race leader. Are they going to pit?
Yes, they are. All 5, all 10, 12, 14, 15 of the top drivers coming in right now.
Feeding time at the zoo, here they come.
65 miles an hour, pit road speed.
Ralph Shaheen.
The crew is ready to go here at Jeff Gordon's pit. They come around to the right side of the car. Shane Marshall, Mike Trower going to work with what are known as Thunder Guns. The impact wrench to spin at over 10,000 RPM to get those lug nuts off as quick as they can. Right side change. I'm going to work on the left side. Sticker tires, basically brand new tires going on all 4 corners. Siddick Berggren.
Wallace just had a great stop. A little bit over 18 seconds. He has beaten Earnhardt out of pit road. Jeremy Mayfield will follow Earnhardt down the 18. Trouble on pit road. Dale Jarrett spinning on
we have another one.
4 cars spinning. Trouble on pit road.
Jeff Bodine hit Dale Jarrett coming down pit road. Jarrett was coming out of his pits. Bodine headed into his.
Ward Burton also got tagged and turned around in pit stall. You see him trying to get straight again.
And that's going to be a costly pit stop for several drivers, those that had the misfortune of being turned around.
Especially Jeff Burton in the Roush number 99, who had to back away from pit wall once the lane was clear and then pull in. Pit stops continue. Dick Trickle, Bill Elliott, Steve Park, Jeff Bodine. Let's show you what happened on pit road as 2nd round of stops under green.
Okay, we see the driver there, Jeff Gordon, leaving the pits. Here comes Dale Jarrett right here coming out of the pits. And back there is, he hits, see Jeff Bodine was coming into the pits. He didn't, apparently the spotter didn't tell him another car was on the outside, so he went right out into Jeff Bodine, spun Jarrett down to the inside.
And coming into the pits, Jeff Burton, coming into his pit stall, had to spin out to miss Jarrett.
I'm going to make a prediction. He was looking at the wreck and almost overshot his pits and slammed the brakes on and almost spun out. That's what Jeff Burton looked like he did. See right there? Oh, he got tagged. I seen something hit him there on the left rear corner.
Right front badly crumpled on Dale Jarrett's 88. You see it from that in-car camera. Not all of the leaders have pitted. Joe Nemechek moves up onto the front spot after pit stops. Work on Derek Coates. Chuck Ryder owned number 30. There's Nemechek, number 42. Yesterday's winner in the Napa Auto Parts 300 for the Busch Grand National Cars. You saw that one live here on CBS. Nemechek led 106 of the 120 laps yesterday. It was all but boring behind him, but front row Joe became first place Joe. Dale Jarrett is coming back onto pit road. Since we are still under the green flag, this 2nd stop will be very, very costly.
Mikey has a lot of damage to the right front corner of that car. You can see there, the right front tire is flat.
Let's show you again what happened on pit road.
Ooh. Shit. He did a 360.
He had to move outside. Jarrett
then 99's like,
so he cut out to move around him. and Jeff Bodine was coming into the pits, and to make that contact, a costly situation.
Bill Stevens.
Lots of
okay.
damage on the right front, as you can probably see. Down here, they got a hacksaw out, and they're whacking away at that sheet metal. They're going to pull a big chunk of that metal away from the car. They've already changed the right front tire. They've got all kinds of 200-mile-an-hour tape that's going to go on there, hopefully to keep that fender from flapping too much. A very costly development here to Ralph Shaheen.
After Jeff Gordon's pit stop, he smelled smoke, rubber smoke, inside the car. They radio back and forth between him and crew chief Ray Evernham. They believe what he smells is from somewhere else, but not from inside his car. They're not really sure what it is or where it even comes from.
Jeff Gordon continues on. Joe Nemechek leads this race. Gordon now in second. Pulling up on Kenny Irwin Jr., the rookie. And moving past on the inside. Black flag is out for Ricky Rudd. Brickyard 400 champion. You're watching from Irwin as the leaders go on past. Gordon, Wallace, Earnhardt, Mayfield.
Wow, look at this. They're running 180 miles an hour off the corner. They're turning about 6,500 down the straightaway. With restrictor plate motors, you try not to power over 7,000 with them because you don't get enough air and fuel in the car to make it really run over 7,000 RPM. So you just put a gear in there.
In-car telemetry provided by First Plus Financial today. Pit stops continue, but Joe Nemechek, driving for Felix Sabates, leads the Daytona 500. First time he's led this race in 4 starts. We'll be back with more of the Great American Race. We're just past halfway. 115 laps completed. 4 cars in that tight lead draft. Jeff Gordon, last year's champion, followed by Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt, who've tried a combined 36 years to win this race. And Jeremy Mayfield, the young driver from Kentucky who grew up watching Darrell Waltrip and thinking, hoping someday he'd have a chance to run this race. And with this team and their new partnership with Rusty Wallace's Penske team, Mayfield is a serious contender today.
Oh, hello. Hello there.
And Bobby Labonte here running right by himself. He needs some help. Mike Skinner.
Oh, hello there. How are you today?
They may could run him down, but that's a big deficit to try to run down.
Bobby Labonte, the pole sitter. Skinner, last year's pole sitter. A little further back, Mark Martin in 7th place. Down on the inside with Ken Schrader, the 8th place car. Schrader driving hurt as they follow rookie Kenny Irwin. Irwin is 1 lap down. And there's Mark motioning to the cars behind him.
He's wanting to stay in line right now and try to get that lead push.
For
they know
God's
right now
sakes.
they're dead in the water if they don't do something. So they have to try to stay in line and run that front group back down because they are really a good ways back.
That group is 3 seconds behind the lead pack of cars. There's what just 3 seconds looks like here at Daytona. From here to eternity.
Wow. Not a great deal of, you don't get much help from the draft of those cars.
Something flew out of that guy's car.
Mark Martin moves to the inside as Irwin, 1 lap behind, pulls over, lets the lead lap cars through. Dick Berggren.
Rick Cope, who had been a contender early, is on pit road. The problem, a right front fender. They've had contact and that fender is flopping in the breeze. They're trying to put tape on it, brace it so it'll stay there. Cope now backing up as they try to pry the fender away from the tire. This is oh so costly. They did think they had a shot at the Daytona 500. Not anymore. Ralph.
Remember, we took a look at the right front tire of Jeff Gordon's car after the first pit stop, and the tire temperature went increased across the tire. This time, it's even all the way across. That's an indicator that that push that he had in the front of the car is now gone because he's running up front in clean air.
That's true.
Jeff Gordon, your leader, Rusty Wallace, Dale Earnhardt, Jeremy Mayfield. And you're with Dale Earnhardt. Out of turn number 4.
I wonder if they upload this live stream. I wonder if they're going to upload this because I want to see this again.
Let's have a look back at last year's 3rd place finisher who started in the last row and came up to 3rd. Ricky Craven, the Newburgh Maine driver today, running on the lead lap in 19th position. Right behind Mike Wallace. Telemetry on board Ricky Craven's car.
You can see 180 miles an hour going down to the corner there, 6,500 RPMs. That's John Andretti just in front of him there. They're nose to tail coming down towards the tri-oval on the
Yeah, one that's already
The car
out.
down on the track apron was Ricky Rudd, headed for the pits.
Ricky Rudd!
You talk about the lower RPMs with these restrictor plate engines. When they are unrestricted, as they'll be next week in Rockingham, North Carolina, they turn those things about 8,500, sometimes to 9,000 RPMs.
The Daytona 500 is annually a sellout, but there are still seats available at Rockingham, North Carolina on the 1 Mile Speedway for next Sunday's second race in the Winston Cup Tour. Bill Elliott leading a pack of cars. John Andretti driving for Richard Petty this season with Craven and the number 4 of Bobby Hamilton, who was Petty's driver last season. Musical chairs rather common in the off-season in NASCAR racing. Bill Elliott's picked up a
Looks like a biplane, sure does.
You don't think he went through the drive-thru on one of those pits?
No. Don't go there.
Now the leaders are able to get away from that second pack, Ned, because they have picked up the draft of these cars about to be lapped.
We saw this here yesterday in the 300-miler. Some cars moved away, and they didn't pull too far away from the pack behind them until they started lapping cars. And then when they picked up that draft, like these cars have done right here, then it really picked their speed up. Look at Earnhardt. He was trying to go high on the outside, but I think he got boxed in there.
He was trying to go where Jeff Gordon didn't as they came to those lap cars.
What he's trying to do is use these slow cars as a pick so he can make a move towards the lead.
Boy, he's on first!
Gordon, though, is not going to be denied. Gordon has Rusty Wallace. Earnhardt had Jeremy Mayfield. Side by side, they come down to complete the 122nd lap. Gordon at the stripe, but Earnhardt has Rusty Wallace with him.
Gordon's out of the draft right now. They should go right on by him. He's leading Rusty Wallace and Jeremy Mayfield as they go right on by him down into turn 1.
Jeff Gordon hanging tough on the inside, trying to get back up in line.
Hey, we got a leader.
And you said they were picking friends. Find their friend there.
2 Fords and 2 Chevrolets in the lead draft.
And up front, 2 drivers who have tried a combined total of 36 Daytona 500s to find the way to victory lane.
Dale Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace.
Jeremy Mayfield now third, and Jeff Gordon, who has led much of this race, back to fourth. There, that blue car is Joe Nemechek, just ahead of the leaders. Nemechek was leading, made a late pit stop, came back out on the racetrack, and now he's at the tail end of the lead lap.
Come on.
There's Nemechek.
Pulling pretty quickly, Mike, now that they've caught him. As we talked about those cars a moment ago, once they get the sniff of that draft, they really pick up.
Come on, Dale.
In Jeff Gordon's pit, Ralph Shaheen.
Mike, apparently push developing in the 24 car now with Jeff Gordon. They'll keep an eye on it and see if they can't get it fixed. And next time in, they're going to have to stay out as long as they can to keep him in the lead pack.
You can see Jeff Gordon right on the white line there. He seems to be...
I got a shredded tire down low on the back stretch.
And you've got Ward Burton slow in the back straightaway.
That guy's throwing it all over. He's going into 3 right now.
Spotters and crew chiefs talking with their drivers. And there is Ward Burton, who has cut down a tire and will take it back around the pit road.
What happened to him?
Jeff,
Look at this.
Look at stuff all over the racetrack.
That guy failed.
Caution is out for the first time today.
First damn caution.
The
Damn
yellow
it.
flag waves over the Daytona 500.
What are we up? Like 123 laps?
125 laps of green
125.
flag racing now. We're under caution.
Already?
CBS Sports coverage of the Daytona 500 continues after this message and a word from your local station.
Already.
We are under caution for tire debris from Ward Burton and it's run onto pit road. Rusty Wallace got out first, and Mark Martin's Jack Roush Ford is being pushed backwards.
What do you mean?
And behind the wall, Dick Berggren?
Well, I'm not sure what it is yet, Mike, but we're going to tell you real soon. Apparently, it's a drive shaft we've just picked up on the radio. We're on our way there. We'll bring you the report in a moment.
What happened?
Dale Jarrett's crew is working hard on that right front fender as Rusty Wallace's crew, led by Robin Pemberton, led the race off pit road. We'll be right back.
This CBS Sports Race Summary is sponsored by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, the king of beers.
The king of beers.
Under caution for the first time today after 127 laps, 317.5 miles have been run. 7 different leaders, lead changes 10 times, and that average speed is still over the Baker record of 1980. 2 cars have retired from the event. Kevin LePage was the first out. A little power failure there, and now Mark Martin behind the wall with the rear end gone on that car. Rusty Wallace, at the moment, running in front since 1991. 4 wrecks here at Daytona. This has not done well. Take a look at this in 1983. Back straightaway, 190 miles per hour. And he walked away. But his luck in this 500 has not been good. This is his 16th attempt to win the 500. Engine failures, crashes in this race. Some have considered that he may be just a little temperamental on that throttle with all the things that have happened to him. One of the guys that helped him to cure that was Buddy Baker. Let's go to Dick Berger.
Mark Martin's view of the Daytona 500 has just changed. He had been watching it on the racetrack. Now he's looking through his windshield at the cars as they go by. What happened to this thing?
Well, we broke a gear trying to get out of the pits there. Just a bad luck thing. I mean, nothing we did. It just happens once every 10 years or something like that. Man, we had a good run going. I thought we were giving Valvoline, Cummins, and Bugles, Bosch, Ford, Eagle One, all these guys something to cheer for. I don't know if we had a shot to win, but we had a top 5 car. And the guys, everybody pulled together and worked real hard to put this thing together. And this is just a real disappointing way to have it turn out.
And Mark Martin is yet another of those veterans who has never won the Daytona 500. He'll have to wait till next year, Mike.
Finished 3rd here in 1995. He's been trying for a decade and a half to win this race. Getting set for the restart, Rusty Wallace won the race off pit road. Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon. Let's see how the rookies, 6 of them in this race, are faring today. Jerry Nadeau, there he is. Jerry Nadeau, number 13 from Danbury, Connecticut, is 22nd. Kenny Irwin, 25th. Steve Park, 29th. Andy Hillenberg, 32nd. Billy Standridge, 39th. And in the garage area, Kevin LePage among the rookies in this race. So Nadeau leading what is expected to be one of the finest Winston Cup rookie crops in many a year.
There are some great drivers with good talent in the rookie chase this year.
Ralph?
Well, there's a problem with the front air dam on Jeff Gordon's car, and that's why he has the big push. It has been dented in. And they have changed tires on this car, but there is not a whole lot they can do to compensate for that. Jeff is going to be dealing with a push for the rest of the day.
Here we go, restart.
Aerodynamics are so critical, a component of speed here at Daytona. Green flag.
Now we have 70 laps to go.
First time a Ford has led today, Rusty Wallace. Earnhardt behind him, and Gordon nestled up against Earnhardt's bumper.
Rusty Wallace is in a bad spot right now. You see what they're talking about right on that corner right there is bent back just a little bit on Jeff Gordon's car. That's what they're talking about being bent in. It don't look like much, but at 200 miles an hour, that's a lot of lift on the front of the car.
And look at the distance Earnhardt has pulled on Gordon in a lap. 3 car lengths. Long pit stops during that caution for Greg Sachs with the hood up. Jeff Burton, Warren Burton, and Dale Jarrett repairing damage to their cars. Body damage.
Rusty Wallace is in a spot right now. He has 3 good Chevrolets right on his back bumper, and his teammate is on back in the pack there. You can see that Earnhardt's partner right there, the 31 of Mike Skinner, going with him on the high side there. Jeff Gordon starts by.
4 wide in the back straightaway once again.
Boy, this could get interesting.
Bump drafting. That's what it's all about right there. When you go down the back straightaway, you bump into them. You see,
That was not an attempt to bump Earnhardt out of the way. That's his teammate, Mike Skinner, trying to shove him forward.
Absolutely.
It's called bump drafting, and that's what you do. It's about 200 RPMs every time you touch him.
Bill Stevens.
Interesting to see that maneuver in the race. Yesterday during happy hour, we watched that same sequence. Skinner coming up on Earnhardt, tapping him on the back. It may have been by design.
3 wide in turn 2, Dick Berggren.
Well, as we watch the leaders, Mike, they're going to have to make one more pit stop before this thing is all done and over with. There's going to be a lot more racing to come before the Daytona 500 is settled.
You know how a pack of wild animals can take advantage of one that's wounded. That's what they've done to Jeff Gordon. They moved him back in the pack.
That's all they have to do is just think he's wounded a little bit. They're really on him now.
Gordon inside Jeremy Mayfield, number 12, and up against Jimmy Spencer, the man they called Mr. Excitement in the modified ranks in the Northeast, number 23.
Keep your eye on that green car. Bobby Labonte been fast all day, high-siding around a lot of this traffic right now and moving up towards the front.
Kenny Schrader's back up there in 5th place. 2 of the 5 drivers that have the chance for the $1 million bonus, Ernie Irvan and Kenny Schrader, are up in the top 5. Irvan 36, Schrader 33. There's Schrader up on the outside.
Bobby Labonte in the 18 car, the other green car.
Hudson first.
Gordon moves back up down on the inside.
Well, he's got Jimmy Spencer just in front of him. He seems to be able to draft if he can stay in a tight draft, but if he goes out by himself, he's in trouble.
Jeff Gordon right up against the back bumper of Labonte as they follow Ernie Irvan, former winner of the 500, down to turn 1.
See Kenny Schrader there in the 33, moving 3 wide as they head into turn 1 there.
Ken Schrader started that backup car at the tail end of the field, qualified 31st, driving with a cracked sternum from a hard crash into the turn 1 wall in Thursday's qualifying race. A Schrader said, "No bones are going to keep me from a shot at $2 million total to win today."
Oh, I understand that. That's a career for a lot of people. He's going for it all right now. Giving their camera a little work over there. You can see how much air pressure is off those cars. It actually moves the camera then.
2 by 2 behind the 3 leaders. Into turn 1 at 190 miles an hour. Driving up on a banking that's probably steeper than the roof on your house.
Richard Childress' car is first and second right now. That's a hard thing to overcome when you have a teammate up under you like that. Somebody has to really get with somebody and change the groove to get by them. You won't see these guys make a mistake and give that up.
Bill Stevens.
Just spoke to Andy Petrie, the crew chief for Kenny Schrader. Asked him, how's Kenny feeling in the car? He says the flak jacket was a stroke of genius, helping to dampen some of the vibrations that would come up and ordinarily cause him some discomfort. He said, he's feeling great. I said, does $1 million have to do something with it? He said, yep.
Schrader has Morgan Shepherd standing by in relief. Shepherd, rideless for the Daytona 500, hopes to put something together for the rest of the season.
Just a second ago, Rusty Wallace was giving everybody chase around the racetrack. He's staying on the bottom side of the racetrack, and the groove moved up just a little bit. He's dropping back as we speak.
65 laps to go.
65 laps to go, guys.
Ken Squire.
Heroics are such a part of the Daytona 500, and they always have been, but this ride by Schrader should not be discounted. Imagine fracturing your sternum 3 days ago in a 185-mile-an-hour crash. He qualified 31st. He had to go to his second car, started 43rd. He's driven this thing right up into the top 5 once again. This is truly a heroic performance, and that car rides like a buckboard. The way they have these Chevrolets designed to run this track this year, you feel every bump, you feel every crevice on the track. He was telling me he was going to get a new dentist because he had so many fillings he'd have to replace after 500 miles. Imagine how he must feel right now, but there's no pain. for Schrader. It's like Earnhardt coming back after that terrible crash at Talladega and sitting on the pole at Sears Point, California. These people are special.
Gotta wonder what $2 million feels like.
Well, you can ask Ernie Irvin. He's one of them that's trying right now, and he's moving up beside the team car of Dale Earnhardt. Mike Skinner, you can see he has a good draft on the bottom side of the racetrack. He's going to take it away from Skinner, and this is a whole new ball game.
Ernie Irvin told me last night, no one driver could win this race by himself. You had to have help and the draft. We'll be right back to Daytona
137.
after this. Mike Skinner had vaulted to the lead. Ken Schrader came up with him. Dale Earnhardt dropped to the low groove behind Skinner, and as they went into turn number 3, Earnhardt went under his teammate. Schrader went up high around him. Skinner got kicked back to third. Earnhardt's back in the lead. Schrader's second.
You know what that's called? One winner for the Daytona 500. You have to go when you have the chance.
That's Ernie Irvin down on the inside, trying to get something going. Rusty Wallace working with him.
After that caution, the cars were all bunched up together. That's where they're still running. Some of these cars are lapped down. There are still 17, 18 cars on the lead lap.
Earnhardt and Schrader, how many times have they run side by side together?
I hate to say this, but when you get them bunched up like this, anything can happen.
Earnhardt to the inside, wants the lead back.
Got the lead back.
And here comes Ernie Irvin with him.
Ernie Irvin. That's a brand new ride for him, but it is working like Ernie Irvin's cars always do. Has something to do with the driver, I guess.
Of the first 9 drivers right now, Irvin is the only one to taste victory in the Daytona 500.
But he and Kenny Schrader are both, as you mentioned earlier, eligible for that $1 million bonus. They're right up there fighting for it.
That would mean a total payday of $2 million. Counting manufacturers, contingency, television money, and then R.J. Reynolds bonus.
And for the Mark Martin fans, he is back on the racetrack now. They did get his car repaired, but he is many laps down like
What happened to that single file draft of lead cars we had a while ago?
Well, all you have to do is look at the laps left in this race. Everybody now, they're pulling the plugs on these things. They know they have to go.
Dick Berggren.
Well, Richard Childress is watching our television broadcast, and he's watching his 2 cars, the 3 and 31, jockey back and forth. What do you make of this, Richard?
Well, you know, he was sitting there and pushing. They had a run. He had to go. I was just told him to stay. Mike, you know, I was telling him just try to sit there, and they had a run, so he had to go. Got him 5 points. Now he's back there. Hopefully we can just settle in, and hopefully we have them both there at the end where they can help each other.
Who's supposed to win this thing, the 31 Skinner or the 3 Earnhardt?
Well, you know, a car owner is kind of like 2 kids. Who do you want to give a piece of candy to? But, you know, my heart's got to be with Dale Earnhardt, but we all owe it to Lowe's and everybody with Mike Skinner. If he's got a chance to win, he's got to try to win it.
Well, there's a diplomatic answer for you, Mike.
It certainly is. From the owner of a 2-car team. Aflac trivia question. Who has started the most Daytona 500s before winning the great race?
Bud Baker, 18. I was about to say Darrell Waltrip, but Darrell he won it in his 17th year, I believe.
But he won it in his 18th start.
And look here, 3 wide out in the
this is not trivia here. This is the real thing. 3 wide at 200 miles an hour through the tri-oval. And that is a turn there.
It is a turn, and Dick Trickle's in the middle.
They're still 3 wide. You're with John Andretti. The Pepsi 400 winner here in July, a race that will show for the first time ever at night this July 4th here on CBS.
Well, I can't wait to see 43 cars under the lights here at Daytona.
I got to see history when Earnhardt made a few laps the other night. It was absolutely beautiful. The car looked like a diamond out there. The people cheered the whole 20 laps that he run.
And they expect a packed house here in Daytona for the first ever Pepsi 400 run at night. You'll see it live in prime time here on CBS. Earnhardt the leader, Irvin in second, Rusty Wallace in third. 56 laps to go, Ralph.
A tip of the hat to the Fab Shop guys on the number 2 of Rusty Wallace. They work day after day. They only got 2 days off at the end of the season, Christmas Day and Thanksgiving Day. Crew Chief Rodman Pemberton, he gets 3 weeks off a year. He's only had 5 days off. off in all of 1997. They built over 7 Taurus chassis leading up to the Daytona 500. That great bodywork has gotten Rusty into the thick of this year's Daytona 500.
Now that inside lane is moving forward, Ralph, and the reason is Mark Martin, the lapped car up ahead. Earnhart could sniff out a draft off that white and blue machine of Martin.
I'm watching all these guys right now. Outside line's fast one lap, inside lane is fast one time. The biggest thing right now, you don't only have Earnhardt with a lot of help, other people are getting great toes around the racetrack.
Back down to turn 1, 146 laps complete. Bill?
I just spoke to Ryan Pemberton, the crew chief for Ernie Irvin. I said, are you starting to make some deals on who's going to run with you for the finish? He says, nope, it's happening too fast.
135 miles to go. Dale Earnhardt. Jimmy Spencer on the inside of Mike Skinner. Number 23, Spencer. Number 9, Lake Speed. Number 90, Dick Trickle. And Mark Martin, one lap down, trying to stay away and out of the way of the contenders to win this race.
That's exactly what he's doing. A true champion-type driver does never create a problem as close to the end of the most important race these guys ride.
Still got over 50 laps. Over 50
wide.
Over 50 to go.
Down there at the start-finish line. That's Dale Earnhardt's team communicating with their driver.
Dale Earnhardt.
53 laps to run. From this point in the race on, Dale Earnhardt's led this lap, lap 148, and every other lap in the rest of this race, one year or another, except lap 200. That's Larry McReynolds in the upper right.
Well, Earnhardt's running super well, but just behind him is a young guy on the move right now, Jeremy Mayfield.
Single file. The lead pack comes down to the start-finish line. Earnhardt, Irvin, right behind. There's Ernie Irvin's Pontiac. He moved out of Robert Yates Ford at the end of last season. That's now driven by rookie Kenny Irwin Jr. Jeremy Mayfield is third. Rusty Wallace fourth. Teammates: Ken Schrader fifth. Jeff Gordon in sixth. Mike Skinner, Jimmy Spencer, Bobby Labonte, John Andretti, the top 10. We'll be right back. 49 laps to go in the Daytona 500. Dale Earnhardt's been coming here for 20 years trying to win this race. Ken Schrader for almost that long. That's Schrader in number 33. Thursday, in the 125-mile qualifying race, Schrader got bumped from behind by the yellow car of David Green, turned to the apron, and then whammed into the turn 1 wall, taking Johnny Benson with him. Schrader's impact speed, about 180 miles per hour. The force jolted him forward in the shoulder harnesses, cracked his sternum. He's wearing a flak jacket today, but he said nothing would keep him from a shot at $2 million if he could get in that car, and he has. Coming up next, men's ice hockey and figure skating from the Olympic Winter Games in Nagano, Japan.
What the fuck are you biggest skating?
I got a feeling Schrader's going backwards. He's starting to push in the center part of the corner.
Gordon's coming forward.
Yeah.
Jeff Gordon is on the inside of Kenny Schrader's 33. And Schrader may drop to the tail of his lead draft as Mike Skinner goes past as well. Dale Earnhardt leading Ernie Irvin. 48 laps to go. One pit stop will remain. These cars get about 5 miles per gallon and hold 22 gallons of fuel.
Mike, I think Jeff Gordon needs to change his driving style just a little bit. That car seems to be working on the bottom of the racetrack again. He was pushing out a little bit, getting into turn 1 not too long ago. Looks to be working quite well. He's moving back up on the lead cars now.
These are the two leaders. You're just perched on the back bumper of Dale Earnhardt Chevrolet, looking back there at Ernie Irvin, Jeremy Mayfield, the youngster from Kentucky, his teammate Rusty Wallace, and Jeff Gordon.
He was thinking about making a move. Look at Mike Skinner. He's looking on the outside of Jeff Gordon. I don't believe he's going to be able to pull that one off yet.
Single file, the first 7 cars. Right in the middle of that group, Jeremy Mayfield, 5th start in this race. Looking for his first top 5 finish. Still a lot of jostling back in the pack and a lot of drivers that won't give up on their chance to win the 500, but they have to catch this pack to do it.
And it looks like that second group, they look like they're closing in on the leaders just a little bit. Jimmy Spencer's pulling that second group right on up through there. John Andretti's right with him. You can see there's about a 15th or 11th difference, but they are coming like a storm right now.
Right now, we've run far enough that if I got a caution here the next 5 or 6 laps or something, probably just going and do 4. It's like we've run far enough and got far enough to go. And I about bet Ray, Andy, I don't know.
What McReynolds is saying, they may get 4 tires on this last pit stop. When he says Andy, I don't know, it means he hasn't talked to Andy Petrie, who owns Ken Schrader's car. Now, not only can we listen in on these teams, but a lot of fans in the stands have scanners. They can listen to all of that team communication. Don't know of any other sport where you can do that. As the event unfolds, find out all the strategy firsthand, but you can do it in NASCAR racing. There's Buddy Baker's record for the race, 177.6, and they're running almost right on that record pace today.
See the tremendous travel in the front of Ernie Irvin's car as he comes through the corner there. That front part of that car is 3.5 inches from the ground. It's dragging going through the corner. That's how much the cars are moving in the middle part of the corner.
The Pontiacs are, because of the rules, are able to run a little bit lower balance than the Fords and the Chevrolets.
Dick Berggren.
Bobby Labonte, currently running 9th, has started this race on the pole, but he has not really contended for much of the day. They've had some chassis problems, but crew chief Jimmy Maycar says what they are really doing is kind of hanging around in the back,
guys.
waiting for the end. He says the car will be strong enough after this next pit stop to contend for the win.
Contending for the win right now, Jeremy Mayfield from Owensboro, Kentucky. That number 12 moves up to 2nd place.
Team cars working together. Jeremy Mayfield's getting a great tow. You see right now, Rusty Wallace's teammate right behind him. They just moved up there, went right by Ernie Irvin, took over 2nd and 3rd place.
Those 2 cars are even painted alike. Only the decals are different. Here's Bobby Labonte trying to bring that group back up through. There's Mayfield, number 12, Wallace, number 2.
And Gordon now has moved up to 4th place.
Mayfield pulling in on Earnhardt, the race leader. 5th appearance in this race. Drove for the Sadler brothers. Drove twice here for Cale Yarborough. Got a top 20 finish out of it. And last year, for this team, Mayfield finished 6th in this race. Continuing the battle further back, Joe Nemechek with the 4 of Bobby Hamilton. New driver for Larry McClure this year, that yellow car. 99, Jeff Burton, accident damage. And number 16, Ted Musgrave, the blue and yellow car, just ahead of his teammate, Mark Martin. And Mike Wallace in that white and yellow 73. 159 laps complete this time by. Dale Earnhardt leads it. CBS Sports coverage will continue after this message and a word from your local station. 162 laps complete, 38 to go next time by. Dale Earnhardt leading Jeremy Mayfield and his teammate Rusty Wallace. Larry McReynolds and Ray Evernham on the left. McReynolds, crew chief for Earnhardt. McReynolds won this race with Davey Allison. Ray Evernham won it last year with Jeff Gordon. Talking race strategy. And mainly when to make the final pit stop.
And what to do on that final pit stop. Do you just put fuel in? Do you take 2 tires? Do you take 4 tires?
I wouldn't be surprised to see a splash and go this close to the end.
For somebody. Or maybe all of them.
Jeff Burton has come back to pit road. Word from the scanner is they may have lost an engine on Burton's number 99. A lot of smoke from under the hood.
And also being pushed back towards the garage is the car number 1 of rookie driver Steve Park. He's going to be out of it.
I better explain what a splash and go is. That's about 2 gallons of fuel and just going right back on the racetrack as fast as you can.
Well, Larry McReynolds told Ray Evernham he would be back in about lap 170, which is just about 7 laps from now, to figure out exactly what they're going to do. We have also seen members of Kenny Schrader's team down here as well, Nick Bergeron.
Yeah, we've also had Robin Pemberton down here. He is in right now. Earnhardt's pit. Have you guys cut a deal?
There are no deals. We're just discussing some things right now.
How many tires are you going to take when you pit in? When will you pit?
We don't know what we're going to do yet. We're discussing things.
That's coy.
Well, Robin Pemberton is the crew chief for the third-place car of Rusty Wallace. That was Kevin Hamlin on the left, Mike Skinner's crew chief, talking with the car that is also owned by Richard Childress and engineered by Larry McReynolds. I think there's as much hard running up and down pit road as there is out on the racetrack right now.
Well, the drama continues to build.
It does that because just behind these lead cars that we're looking at right now, Bobby Labonte, Jimmy Spencer, and a few other cars are moving in on this lead draft. It may be a 15-car shootout once they make their pit stops because they're really catching the lead group.
Rick Mast running here for car owner Butch Mock, and he is presently posted 29th. Mast is 3 laps down. He didn't make the race last year, and he said that took 10 years off his life. He says, I know when I die of natural causes, if it hadn't been for missing that race, I'd have lived another 10 years.
Boy, it is tough to miss the race. There's no doubt about it. He was so proud to be able to get in this race this year. Had to race his way into it on Thursday.
Pole sitter for the first Brickyard 400. Dale Earnhardt has won 30 races at Daytona, counting the International Race of Champions, 7 wins in the Saturday 300 Grand National Race, never on Sunday for the Daytona 500.
I tell you, with the luck that Dale Earnhardt's had here in Daytona for the 500, a creak in the back of that car would sound like a cowbell to him. I guarantee you, he's sitting there wondering, is something else going to happen to me?
Dick Bergeron.
Well, subject to change when Larry McReynolds radioed to Dale Earnhardt on lap 165. We're coming in 15 laps. They can go almost all the way to the end. That's 200 laps on the fuel that they've got, but at least right now the strategy is come in before them.
Last year, Earnhardt in contention to win, flipped over with 11 laps to go. And there's a Ford crew chief and a Chevy crew chief having a conversation.
On the left is Robin Pemberton, crew chief for Rusty Wallace.
Now, neither one of their drivers have won this race in years of trying. 2 years ago, Earnhardt started on the pole, finished a close second. 3 years ago, settled for second. 4 years ago, lost the lead draft. 5 years ago, lost it in the final lap. Crashed 6 years ago. 7 years ago, limped home as the race ended under caution. And I could go on and on through 19 years of trying.
Mike, I was just looking over turn 1, and the black skies are over there. I'm sure these drivers are starting to look at it and say, man, this thing might end before the end of the race because it is getting dark over there. Everybody has to be aware of bad weather.
And if they get a report that there are showers in that area, then that's going to make a difference in these pit stops. They'll go as long as they possibly can. Maybe some of them will go too long.
Even in 1980, when Buddy Baker won this race, Earnhardt was running with Baker in the final laps when the pit crew left one lug nut off during the final stop, and he had to come back to pit road, dropping a lap off the pace. Earnhardt has lost this race every which way you can, and usually in the closing laps. Jeff Gordon aiming to be the spoiler in Earnhardt's party or Wallace's celebration. The 1997 champion sits in 4th place behind Earnhardt, Jeremy Mayfield, and Rusty Wallace. 31 laps to go next time by.
Working 172 laps, 430 miles complete. The story is Earnhardt striving, struggling to finally win this 500. Earlier this week, he told the press, everyone saw the look in John Elway's eyes. Look in mine. He's out in front, but there are 2 Fords deployed directly behind him. And before this is over, you can be sure they're going to be on the attack. Mayfield and Wallace working together. Let's go back to the call and Mike Joy.
Ken, 28 laps to go. 8 times in 19 years, Dale Earnhardt has been in this position at this juncture of the race in the lead. 4 times with less than
trouble on the backstretch.
Oh.
1 car, 2 cars go sliding down the back straightaway. John Andretti.
Robert Presley, I believe, was the other car.
And Andretti swerves around as they get down to the grass, and we are under caution.
Yeah.
So that takes all that pit strategy away because they'll be able to make their pit stops under caution.
All that wheeling and dealing. New deal. Chilly day. Hot racing on the track. It's only the second caution of the afternoon, and it comes after 173 laps are completed, beginning lap 174. There are 15 cars on the lead lap, make that 16. Earnhardt, Jeremy Mayfield, Rusty Wallace, Jeff Gordon, and Ernie Irvan. Mike Skinner, Bobby Labonte, Ken Schrader, Jimmy Spencer, and Ricky Craven, the top 10. Then Kyle Petty, Michael Waltrip, Bill Elliott, Terry Labonte, Chad Little, Bobby Hamilton, and Lake Speed. 17 cars on the lead lap when they form up for the restart. But first, pit stops. Here's what happened out of turn 2.
Here we go.
You can see that the 43 car of Andretti came up awfully fast on the 77 car of Robert Presley. They got together and spin down to the inside of the racetrack. Everybody else goes by.
Let's slow it down and look again. Andretti was on the lead lap.
Just got into the left rear corner of Presley, and both of them spin to the inside of the racetrack and out of harm's way.
Inside John Andretti's car for this look.
If you want to see what an arrow push looks like, watch him come up right here.
Quickly gets to those gears, gets it on out of there. He has made a pit stop.
Ed, that makes me pretty proud of my Sunday job up here. I'm not in that windshield behind that steering wheel anymore.
Pit road will be the center of action as Dale Earnhardt leads Jeremy Mayfield, Rusty Wallace, Jeff Gordon, and every one of those 17 cars on the lead lap. Dick Berggren.
Earnhardt coming down pit road for what will be his final pit stop if all goes well. The plan, take 2 tires. That's what Rusty Wallace's plan is as well. Let's go to Bill.
Rusty Wallace is in. Robin Pemberton said to his gas guys, get 1 can in and don't worry about it. Let him get out of here. Right side tires only. He's away with Mayfield.
Earnhardt has the quick pit stop. It'll be Earnhardt leading the charge off pit road.
And his teammate, Mike Skinner, gets out second. That could be
I'm reminded of a conversation we had yesterday where to win the Daytona 500, you'd have to have a friend, and Earnhardt has his teammate right behind him.
You got to remember something else, though. His teammate wants to win the Daytona 500. 2 teammates. That's 2 teams right there. The first 4 position. But it's going to be good.
Get a good hold. 25 laps to go next time by.
Earnhardt made a great pit stop, but you got to hand it to those guys in the 31. They were back in 5th place when they came in. Now they're in 2nd place. They really made a great pit stop.
Now, even leaving the pits, they're subject to that 65-mile-an-hour speed limit. So it's who gets their job done first and who gets up, out, and into the lane. Bill?
Robin Pemberton very unhappy with that pit stop. I asked him, not enough fuel in the car? He said, no, too much. He thinks they took too much time. They wanted to get out before Earnhardt.
They came out in 4th place.
Well, and that track position is so important.
You know, they actually time how long it takes to dump a gallon of fuel in these cars, so he knows when it's too long.
Dark clouds on the western horizon. The Daytona 500 has 25 laps left to run.
This CBS Sports Race Summary is sponsored by Texaco, a world of energy.
As we get down to the last 25 laps at 174, 435 miles complete, 8 different leaders. Lead changes 13 times. The average speed just under Baker's record from 1980 at 176.1. A couple of cautions out here, and the cars and drivers that now are saying what should have been include Kevin LePage, Ricky Rudd, Steve Park, the rookie, and now Jeff Burton. Field is getting set on a restart, and let's rejoin Mike Joy.
Don Hawk with Dale Earnhardt.
Saying a prayer.
One lap to race. Earnhardt's pit stop. A key pit stop to maintaining that lead track position. Watch that black car in the middle of the screen jump out ahead of those two white Fords, and Mike Skinner, the blue and yellow car, right with him. Let's give a call to Kevin Hamlin and that Mike Skinner crew. Michael Lingerfelt, Ron Otto, Kevin Gabbard, Taco Landon, Brian Engelhardt, Trip Bruce. They got Mike Skinner way up the leaderboard into second place.
He was fifth when he came in, came out in second place. One loser on this pit stop, Mike, was Ernie Irvan, who was running in fifth place. He is now back in the 11th position, and Michael Waltrip, also a big loser. He got out of the pits good in the 6th place, but he had to come back in because he ran over an air hose. Now he is 18th. There are 18 cars on the lead lap.
And Ed, we need to add to the list we gave earlier, John Andretti and Michael Waltrip. They are on the lead lap. That makes 18 cars. Dale Earnhardt in front. 24 laps to go. Buddy, how do you win this race if you're not in Dale Earnhardt's position?
Well, the first thing you have to do, as you can tell, they're teaming up right now. There's a lot of these guys that know that they have to draft right now. You wait till about 5 laps to go, really make a run. But hey, if that door opens up right now, those team cars will go right by Earnhardt and try to put him back there and worry about him getting back to the front.
Both those two lead Chevys using the new General Motors SB2 small block engine, and Ned, two Ford Tauruses right behind them, answering a question we had at the top of the day. The Tauruses can run.
Yes, they can. They certainly can run in the draft. They haven't led that much today, but they certainly can run in the draft. And if two of them get hooked up together against those two Chevrolets, it's going to be interesting. However, I think it's going to be very hard to pass Dale Earnhardt and to Mike Skinner.
Ken Squire.
Dale Earnhardt has said this week, it's a game of chance in terms of who's working with you and how you get where you want to be. He's where he wants to be now for sure, with teammate Mike Skinner right behind, going under green.
Right behind, Skinner is shoving Earnhardt toward turn 1.
Almost got his car loose, Mike. He was so much up under him and actually pushing.
How are you
Lead lap
today?
cars in the outside lane. Cars 1 or more laps down, including number 40 Marlin down on the inside.
Rusty Wallace got a terrible start there. He's not up to his teammate where he should be, but Jeff Gordon's right on his back bumper. They ought to be able to pull up. That's a lap car there, the 40 car that you can see if Sterling Marlin is pulled right up into the draft there.
23-lap gang fight. Jeremy Mayfield's gang not yet shown up. He's the only Ford in the front of that pack.
He's had a good car all day. He has drafted well, has driven it well. Now Rusty Wallace is back there with
2 Chevys and 2 Fords and 3 abreast behind them. Jimmy Spencer in the middle.
Don't count out that green car there. Bobby Labonte right now. He's one of the guys that can make $2 million if he wins today.
And here's a challenge going down into turn 1. The Fords move on the inside of Skinner. They take away Earnhardt's drafting partner.
Mike Skinner kicked up high, clotheslined out of the draft by himself. Here they come underneath him.
You see Bobby Labonte there on the inside. You can see that Skinner's fighting back on the outside. Bobby right by himself. That's not a good place to be.
He's behind us.
Oh, Earnhardt, you can do
Did he
it.
get to third? Did he get to third? Where'd he get to?
Sounded like Ray Evernham talking to Jeff Gordon.
He got to 4th is where he got to. And Bobby Labonte still running side by side with Mike Skinner back there. That's not good.
Well, the first 4 broke away just
They still got 22 laps. Remember that air dam.
That is Ray Evernham telling Jeff Gordon that air dam is bent up. Stay in line as long as you possibly can and take advantage of the draft off the car ahead of you. Jerry Nadeau, number 13 in the middle of the pack. He's the highest rookie in the race right now. 1 lap down in 22nd spot. Great debut for the road racer from Connecticut. Mark Martin's wounded car way down to the inside.
Getting out of the way. He knows he's laps down. He's just letting these guys go after it.
Buddy, how tense is it to be this late in a race in the middle of a pack like this?
Well, you see Bobby Labonte in the green car there. He has Jimmy Spencer and all. The tension is unbelievable because you're doing everything you possibly can, inside, outside, trying to get somebody to go with you. Coming up on Mike Skinner, he's trying to make a move there. You see him go inside, got cut off, went right back to the outside. They're not waiting anymore. They're making their moves.
Out of turn 2, Earnhardt leads 2 Fords and a Chevrolet. Jeff Gordon, the defending champion, in 4th. 7 times at this point in the race. With 20 laps to go, Earnhardt has been the leader. He still has yet to find the key to the gate that opens to victory lane in the Daytona 500. And it's been 59 Winston Cup races since Earnhardt has had a victory on NASCAR's senior circuit. 3 abreast further back. Rookie Kenny Irwin in between Jeff Bodine and Ricky Craven. Ned, those 2 Fords are linked up behind Dale Earnhardt. Now, each time they've gone to turn 1, there's Rusty Wallace. He started inside, he started outside. But even with Jeremy Mayfield right behind him, he cannot yet get alongside Earnhardt.
So far, maybe it's a little bit earlier than they would like to make those moves. They sort of test them out, but they also got to look in their rearview mirror right behind Rusty Wallace is Jeff Gordon, and they know that he's going to stay a player in this thing. Bobby Labonte has caught back up to them as well. As Buddy said, he has a fast Pontiac, so it's going to be one kind of a shootout here.
And just behind the green car there, that red and white car, that's Jimmy Spencer, a past winner here. He'll let it all hang out too when time comes.
In preseason testing, when the Fords came down here to run, Buddy Baker came down here as a consultant with Jeremy Mayfield and with Rusty Wallace. You went out and ran with Rusty, pointed out a couple of things he might try. Want to share one with us?
Let's watch this race. I tell you what, they do a great job. Rusty knows how to drive. I was just down here, but it helps me a lot in the booth. At least I do know what these cars are doing right now. You can see Jeremy, look on the inside. His teammate just about put a move on him there. If he makes the wrong move, Rusty's going to go, because he wants to win the Daytona 500 as much as Jeremy Mayfield does. Earnhardt looking in the mirror going, what do I do if they come on the outside, inside?
They come on the outside, I got an idea.
Not since
block
Jerry
them.
Cook has there been a mirror driver in this business of the caliber of Earnhardt.
That's right, and he knows that. I mean, all he can do. Here's Gordon making a move. Bobby Labonte coming with them.
Contact there between Gordon and the 2 cars of Rusty Wallace.
And now Bobby Labonte gets a run up on the outside of Jeff Gordon, so he'll go around him. He was going to go with him.
And that split up that lead draft.
Here's Michael Waltrip down at 21 coming back. We said that he dropped all the way to 18th. He's all the way up to 9th.
And they go 3 wide trying to gain track position at Gordon's expense. And that leaves these 3 to settle it.
And Dale Earnhardt has to be grinning. Boys, keep them 2 by 2 back here. And it's a 3-car shootout instead of 15 cars going forward on the last lap.
Yeah, but I believe Bobby Labonte's going to be back up there before this thing's over.
Oh, he's strong.
Yeah,
You're right,
he's coming.
man.
There he is. He's right back
Yeah,
there now.
He's running by.
They're high. You want it.
16 laps to go.
Started to say there a moment ago, Mike, that Dale Earnhardt, all he can do is just hold that thing wide open, keep it down to the low side of the racetrack where it's run well all day long, and just hope for the best.
40 miles left to race. Dick Berggren.
Larry McReynolds, how nerve-wracking is this?
Well, it's all out of our hands now. I feel like we've got the best driver that's ever been at Daytona leading this pack right now, but you got team cars behind him, and darn, I wish they'd shorten this race today. We just have to see what
last
happens.
5 laps is going to be
Good luck.
probably an accident. They've only had one. The big one
dark right now down into turn 1 as they still continue to run 3 wide back in the pack.
It's nowhere near as dark
calling it.
as that dark form that looms in front of those 2 white and blue Fords. Dale Earnhardt. But as Richard Childress reminded Larry McReynolds at this point in the race last year when Larry said, "Is it looking good?" Childress just looked at him with a stern face and said, "We've been here before."
Mike is still 15 laps and anything can happen. Look back here, 4 wide down the back straightaway.
All trying to catch these 3.
We'll be lucky if we don't have a wreck before this thing's over with all those cars running that close together back there. Jockey for position. Here they are, 3 wide again.
Middle of the pack, the green car, Chad Little. Down low, Ernie Irvin trying to come back up with the leaders. And outside, Ricky Craven in 12th place. You're with Craven 11. That's Jerry Nadeau just ahead.
15 laps
Bill
to go.
Elliott down on the inside. Ooh,
14.
Chad Little comes up almost into Craven.
That's exactly what Ned was talking about. Rooting and gouging now. They're moving up on each other. Tire marks are the thing of the day right now.
Chad Little gets free of that pack, and way down to the bottom goes Irvin. Irvin scratching and clawing his way back to the front. He's racing for $2 million. 14 laps to go. Can we hold our breath that long?
Can they?
If I was driving Earnhardt's car, I would hope these guys are smart enough just to stay behind me until the real time comes. If you made a move right now, you might go from 2nd to 15th, get back there where they're running 3 wide and have no chance to win.
93 of the...
Yeah, now is not the time to make a move
out
up
of
front.
187.
He's making the moves that he has to make, and that's just a hold of the pedal to the metal, as they say, wide open all the way
Come
around this
on,
racetrack.
Earnhardt, you can do
and
this.
hope that on the last lap or whenever they decide to make their move, that those two Fords get side by side back there or side by side with another car, and that'll free him up.
12 to go. Next time by, a lot of checking up in the middle of that huge pack as these 7 cars have gone single file. Earnhardt, Mayfield, Rusty Wallace, Bobby Labonte, Jeff Gordon, Mike Skinner, and Jimmy Spencer.
Yep, we have a group now that really know how to run this racetrack. The back car there, Jimmy Spencer won here on a breathtaking move. Look at this, 3 wide back
Oh,
in the
God,
back.
3 wide.
Kyle Petty down low, John Andretti in the middle,
Nope,
and he
Flash Plains
squeezes
is
up
on.
in front of, I think that was Ted Musgrave.
Oh,
yes,
getting
it
a
was.
little push there, too.
Well, Ted's from Wisconsin, and they run hard with their bumpers up there. Back to the lead, 7 cars in a row, 11 1/2 laps, 27 miles left to run. Dale Earnhardt has won his qualifying race the last umpteen years in a row here, every one of the 1990s. 9 years, he's won the qualifier. But in between last year's qualifying race win and Thursday's win, he's been shut out of victory lane.
You know, Jeremy Mayfield sitting there in 2nd does not have quite as much time on the major speedways as the guy in front of him, the guy behind him. But right now, he has a great race car. I hope he knows, though, when you pull out, if you're right up
Watch,
under
the longest part's going to be the winner's
you don't
circle
have
thing.
momentum. You need to lag back and
Just
let that
watch, it's
teammate
gonna be
help you get a run up
usually
the
like that.
straightaway so you make the move on
The
the
winner's
car in
circle
front of
is
you.
usually the
All right,
longest part.
Professor Baker, the Buck Baker Racing School, you taught Jeremy Mayfield during winter testing. Does he have the killer instinct to beat these two and win this race?
Let me tell you something. Look at all that bunch right there. Every one of them a winner. You're a track champion before you ever get in the Winston Cup. Every one of these guys are talented race car drivers, and I won't take any credit. He got here on his own.
Dick Berggren?
Richard Childress is watching the television. His driver is ahead, but they're all
189.
ganged up behind you. How does Dale Earnhardt prevent these guys from passing him?
That's going to be tough. You know, 2 cars can just go. You know, Mike got shuffled out. I was hoping Mike could sit there with him, but those 2 cars
Got
got to run on
190,
Mike
10
and just
laps
hung
to
him
go.
out. And his car's a little loose, too, so he's doing a good job. And, you know, Dale Earnhardt, he's been here many times. He knows what he's got to do.
He does indeed, Mike Joy.
And those 6 cars in the lead pack may be about to become 12.
Just watching Jeff Gordon, he had dropped back and gotten himself back in that group back there. Now he's running the front group back down there. Has some good drafting partners with him.
10 laps to go. The driver leading with 10 laps to go has won 22 times in the 39 runnings of the 500. But 4 times, one of the drivers of the 17 that have not have been Dale Earnhardt. 1989, 1990, 1991, and 93. Earnhardt has been right here with 10 laps to go. Bill?
I'm with Paul Andrews, crew chief for Jeremy Mayfield. Kid's doing a great job, but what happens next?
I don't know. We've got about 8 more times to go around here. We'll find out. You know, the Mobile 1 car's been real good the whole week down here. We feel like we're in pretty good shape. We feel like we've got a real good car. But, you know, there's a whole lot of cars
So I
right
have 3
behind us.
cars
One
out.
wrong
I'm
move,
at
we
4
get right in
cars
the
out
back.
now.
You know, we're real excited to be here in the position we're in, and we're going to go for the win here in a little bit.
If Jeremy goes, will Rusty go with him?
Of course, that's what teammates are for.
Indeed.
Paul Andrews knows about winning. He won the Winston Cup Championship with the late Alan Kulwicki behind the wheel.
They're still running average laps of almost 188 miles an hour, and they're getting close to that 500-mile mark.
8 laps to go. 20 miles, buddy.
Guys, it hadn't been long. We had 4 cars in a breakaway draft. You have many cars now in contention. You see Rusty pushing up a little bit. Bobby Labonte looking on the inside as they head down the back straightaway.
Labonte has Jeff Gordon with him. Mike Skinner to the inside. Rusty Wallace goes down like Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison did on the last lap at 79. And here is Bobby Labonte on the outside, the green car.
Jeremy Mayfield fighting back on the inside there. Jeff Gordon just up under him as they come down towards the front straightaway. It's a dogfight as these guys, Jimmy Spencer makes contact there.
They're not going to wait for one to go. 7 laps to go. Here
Seven.
comes Mayfield right up against the bumper of Earnhardt again.
Whoa! Right up under, but here comes Gordon now. Where did he come from?
Gordon fighting on the outside. If he gets up under, look at this dogfight off turn 2 as they go down this long back straightaway.
Wallace on the inside. Labonte way up on the outside. And somebody got shot out of the middle like a hot dog flying out of the bun.
Here comes the teammates on the inside trying to drop by. Jeff Gordon going into turn 2. Give it to Mayfield.
They had got separated there for just a moment now as they come off of turn 4. Mayfield is right back there again, sticking his nose of his Ford right up under Dale Earnhardt's Chevrolet.
Oh, man.
6 to go, baby. Remember what you told me a year ago. Don't let them get a run on you.
On the outside, buddy, can he get there?
We have a situation here. We have 2 groups that are running very well on the high side of the racetrack. I don't think there is such a thing as a great line around the racetrack right now.
Wow. Now the teams and the manufacturers are split up. It's Chevy, Ford, and nobody has a teammate next to them.
Let's see what Earnhardt's doing right now. Right on the white line around the bottom of the racetrack here. That groove you see from the white up there, that's the racetrack. The rest of the flat part of the racetrack, right out against the wall. You can see him heading into the dog leg here. He'll go right down to the bottom.
5 to go.
He's protecting that low line. Now he comes back out here.
Ray Evernham tells his driver, Jeff Gordon, 5 laps to go.
5.
And look at 16 cars are in contention to win the Daytona 500. Remember 1979, when going into turn 3, Cale Yarborough and Donnie Allison crashed. Richard Petty was in turn 1 at the time and led Darrell Waltrip and A.J. Foyt to the checkered flag. You don't need to be on the front of this train to win, but it sure helps.
Lady, we feel just like you do up here in the broadcasting booth. Not a one of us are sitting down. I just got out of my chair, as a matter of fact.
Off turn 4, where David Pearson and Richard Petty crashed on the last lap of the 500 in 1976. Pearson limping across with the victory.
Everybody's trying to get themselves in position. They know that they're back there in 5th or 6th place. They're not positioned to win the Daytona 500. Bobby Labonte is in a bad position there right now, running side by side with another car.
Ernie Irvin has worked his way back into contention right now. He's under Bobby Labonte. That's the group running side by side back here. That's not a good thing with just few laps to go, though.
Gonna be 3 laps to go. Down to the inside comes one of those Fords. They're 3 abreast once again.
Wow. Rusty made the pass on Jeff Gordon down the back straightaway. Now the car in front of him's a teammate. If they work together, they could have a chance at Earnhardt near the end here.
And, buddy, he made that pass without the help of another car right on his bumper. That was pretty impressive.
3 laps to go.
Right.
Any one of these cars could win it. Earnhardt, Mayfield, Wallace, Schrader, Bobby Labonte in prime position. Jimmy Spencer coming up on the inside.
There's Labonte trying to go on the outside of Rusty Wallace off of turn 2. Can he make that pass?
And also, Ned, he split Rusty from his teammate Mayfield. Jeff Gordon's dropping back.
That looks like a problem on Gordon's car. He's completely out of contention here.
Into turn 3, where Leroy Yarborough beat Charlie Glotzbeck on the last lap in 1969.
Look at Bobby Labonte coming up on the outside by himself. He got a little help from Jimmy Spencer.
Oh, Jimmy Spencer.
Spencer bounces off the wall, keeps on trucking. 2 laps to go.
Big
2 laps, guys.
By Spencer, but I told you Bobby Labonte was moving just a little while ago. What a muscle move on the outside. Fastest qualifier here for the 500, showing his muscle now.
Three makes in the 500, Chevy, Pontiac, Ford, that's how they run. But Earnhardt has a benefit. There's a slow car up ahead.
And there's trouble coming off a turn two. Some cars get strangled. It might
Crash.
be this. Whoever gets back to the start-finish line, they'll get the white and the yellow together.
Lake Speed and John Andretti tangle. As the leaders head for turn number 3, Andretti and Spencer got together.
This could be the Daytona 500. Bobby Labonte goes to the outside.
Labonte up high. Earnhart uses the left car of Rick Mast.
Come on.
20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
Finally, the most anticipated moment in racing. If John Elway can win the Super Bowl, Dale Earnhardt said he could win the Daytona 500. And if he comes around under caution to complete this final lap, the taste of long-awaited victory will be his.
Wow, what a drive by Dale Earnhardt, doing everything he had to do today.
Bobby Labonte saying, boy, I needed that last lap.
At the top of the show, you saw the steely eyes of Dale Earnhardt. I'll bet they'll be tearful when he pulls into victory lane.
Let me tell you, it'll make the strongest man on earth cry when you win this race. It's special.
Bobby Labonte comes across the line to the caution flag in second. Jeremy Mayfield's Ford third. Kenny Schrader with a shot at that $2 million bonus, as did Bobby Labonte. Checkered flag. Dale Earnhardt finally is a champion of the Daytona 500.
Good job.
Larry McReynolds, for the second time in this great race, will go to victory lane. Once with the late Davey Allison, and today with Earnhardt.
It's been a long time coming.
The run to the caution flag from turn 3.
He came up on Rick Mast. Rick Mast moved to the inside, and that's all Earnhardt needed, buddy, was just some racetrack up there to run on.
Yeah, you can see Bobby Labonte and Mayfield hitting as they come down towards the tri-oval. Mayfield, not quite.
There's the crew, Larry McReynolds and his team looking at Earnhardt. Big hug from Richard Childress, the car owner.
What
Dick
a
Berkman.
chance to win
No,
the
I'm watching the
momentum.
1998 Daytona 500.
Richard Childress, you have tried so hard, so long, you have done it. What is it like to
Good job,
finally
Dale.
win the Daytona 500?
Unbelievable. You know, this team this year, we took all winter, and I can't say enough about Dale Earnhardt, Jim Goodwrench has stood behind him, and most of all, our race fans. Unbelievable.
And there are people in this victory area that are in tears.
They used to boo Dale Earnhardt when he was winning too much. That'll happen if you dominate any sport. But today, when they introduced the Intimidator, the crowd was full of cheers. I think everyone, if their favorite driver couldn't win the Daytona 500, they wanted to see this man drive to victory lane.
You pull up for the check of the spoiler. One of the NASCAR officials calls underneath the car.
71st career Winston Cup victory for the second generation driver and 7-time national champion. He said to make a big man cry. There's Chocolate Myers of Earnhardt's crew.
Well, it don't get any bigger, but I tell you what, I feel about the same way.
Look out on pit road. Every man on every crew has come out to the edge of pit lane to congratulate the man who has dominated everything there is to win in this sport, except this race, until today.
That's great. There was Todd Parrott, Dale Jarrett's crew chief. Other members, other team members of other...
Andy Petrie was there. And this will be the longest receiving line in the history of celebrations.
Wow.
Yep, I've never seen that, Mike. Not that many. Normally we'll see 2 or 3 or 4 teams come out there, but this is something.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I had about 10 teams come out when I won this one, but look at this. Everybody knows what it means to the man that's done everything to finally get the Daytona 500.
There's Derek Cope, or rather Ernie Irvin's crew. There's NASCAR officials out there. There's Robert Presley's crew, Ricky Craven's team.
They're all just touching his car.
NASCAR officials.
He's shaking everybody's hand too, if you notice.
59 races since he's been to victory lane. 19 Daytona 500s. Twice he led at the white flag and failed to take the checker in first place. But today belongs to the man who grew up at the corner of Coach and Sedan Street in Kannapolis, North Carolina, a mill town north of Charlotte, where he worked underneath that house in a garage on his own race cars and those of his father to become one of NASCAR's two greatest champions. He and Richard Petty, the only two drivers with 7 Winston Cups on their trophy shelf.
Mike, he's a long ways from Victory Circle yet, and the crowd's building.
And Earnhardt, along with Bobby Labonte, Jeremy Mayfield, Rusty Wallace, and again Ken Schrader, will have a shot at that R.J. Reynolds $1 million bonus when they post it next time later this season. Last year at Darlington, South Carolina, some question Earnhardt's ability to go 500 miles when he blanked out on the first lap at Darlington, South Carolina, and had to climb from the car and go to the care center.
Won't be going.
Circle, he's going to spin out.
There goes the grass.
Yeah.
A smoke show. Well, the fellow who drives his Craftsman truck, Ron Hornaday, likes to do when he celebrates a victory. And now, look at that throng. Can he get to victory lane from here?
He's going to have a lot of help from a lot of security people to get there, it looks like.
I want to hear what he has to say.
Don't worry. He's won at this racetrack 30 times. He, better than anyone, knows the way to victory lane. The most anticipated moment in the history of NASCAR racing. Dale Earnhardt rolling into victory lane in the Daytona 500. Awaiting Dale Earnhardt is the man who brought the Daytona 500 to CBS, Ken Squire.
The 20-year quest is over. Gates have just opened for Dale Earnhardt in victory lane at Daytona. Here's his wife, Teresa, coming to speak to him. One for Dale Earnhardt, perhaps one for Neil Bonnet as well. About to ratchet himself out of this beautifully prepared car. He said patience was what it was going to take, and patience is what he gave it. All right, getting on the hat. He's waiting on this, and he's ready to clamber out. Ready to step out of car number 3, the winner of the Daytona 500. Oh, gonna have a drink of soda here.
He's just like, fuck this shit. I'm taking my fucking precious time.
All right, here he comes. Out of his car, and listen to this.
We getting on top of it. Yeah. You see the guy?
2 decades he's waited for this moment, and it's here, and everybody gets a bath. Dale. Yes. What a show.
Yes.
Here with Larry McReynolds and a big hug. And Richard Childress. Dale, how about that ride?
How about it? Man, can you believe it? For one, got an awesome race car, but for 2, thank good Lord for a good day. This race car did everything. The good Lord looked after it all day long. Good wrench. This is for all them race fans and all them people have been saying, Dale, this is your year. Dale, this is your year. And boy, a lot of them said it this year. All the way from Mr. France all the way down to Todd Parrott and all the guys on the team.
The Daytona 500 is ours. We've won it, we've won it, we've won it.
And everybody took a shot at you at the end.
I don't care who was taking shots at me. I was driving the mirror more than was the front, but you know, I tell you, these great sponsors, these great people that's worked with us and give us everything we need to win with. This is a good race car. The Spinny Clinton. Hey David, congratulations on your baby. And Larry McReynolds, Spinny Clinton, Richard Childress. We got one heck of a race team. We're going to win a championship this year.
One for Dale and one for Teresa, one for Neil Bonnet, two today.
Well, one for a lot of people. T. Wayne Robinson and you know, old Neil Bonnet, my dad, everybody that's been in racing has been my friend that taught me so much, that touched my life. There's so many of them, I can't thank them all. My mom, thank you, Mom. I know she's back home. Dale Jr., hope you're not too sore. Carrie and Kelly, I love y'all.
You've touched a lot of people here today, and we'll be back for the trophy presentation in a moment after these messages.
You the man. You a bad man. Good job. You next, brother. Good job, buddy.
Well, we're back here in Victory Lane. John Graham, president of the Daytona International Speedway, after perhaps the greatest 500 of them all, is about to make the presentation to Dale Earnhardt, symbol of victory in the Great American Race. John?
Ken?
Dale, we get you up here for a second.
Dale, congratulations. Here is a replica of the Harley J. Earl Trophy, symbolic of the champion of the Daytona 500, and we'll inscribe your name on the permanent Harley J. Earl Trophy on display along with your winning car in Daytona, USA year-round. Congratulations. A great day for racing.
Somebody may get hurt here.
Great day for racing.
I tell you, it's a great day, and I was wondering if I'd ever get my name on that trophy when y'all built that thing, and it's going to be great to have this in my trophy case, but it's for Richard Childress and all the guys. Everybody worked so hard for this. There's too many people in my life I had to think. I couldn't think of them all right now.
Dale, you lose that car for a whole year. It's going to be at Daytona, USA. They'll roll it in tonight.
That's why I took it out in the grass and spun it around a little bit. I knew I wasn't going to race there again. I just thought I'd throw a little grass up.
Very well planned. Those pit stops were just immaculate today.
Well, they were. The guys did a great job, and Dale didn't choke it on the pit road, so everything worked great. I can't say enough for this team. I tell you, we've had so many people that really worked so hard for Jim Goodrich Service. They have been, you know, supportive all the way through. Here we are in Victory Lane again. I knew we could do it.
And you did it, and you did it in style. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
I'm with Bobby Labonte, who put on a terrific run at the end to finish second, his best ever in the Daytona 500. Where did all that speed come from at the end of the day?
Man, you know, Jimmy Spencer really helped me out a lot all week long, and our cars worked really good together. And you know, he's kind of out there. Got a few guys to work with, but we worked good together all week, and you know, brought this Interstate Pontiac. You know, put me back up there, and from about 7th back to 2nd there with about 3 laps to go. So it was a pretty awesome run for us.
And the little guy is Tyler Labonte. Ralph?
Jeremy Mayfield, a tremendous run for you. Tell me about that last lap.
Man, I'm glad it's over with. You know, I had a really strong car. The Mobil 1 Ford was just outstanding all day. Didn't make any adjustments. The pit stops were great. My teammate, great. I mean, we worked together good all day, and that's shows a class act between both teams. We both ran good together and helped each other, and you know, everybody started shuffling around at the end and really didn't have a chance to make a run on him, but you know, we gave our best shot.
Your new teammate Rusty Wallace was the first one over to congratulate you. Is this teammate thing really going to work out? What do you say to you?
Man, just thumbs up. You know, Rusty's a great guy. We've become really good friends. We're here to help each other. You know, the 2 and the 12 cars aren't going to race each other. We're here to help each other, and that showed today. And you know, Rusty, man, what a guy. You know, he's won everything there is to win, and having him in your corner means a lot.
This could be a new powerful force. Jeremy Mayfield and Rusty Wallace in Winston Cup Racing, Ken.
Ralph, you done good.
Victory Lane, that's the place to be. That's where Earnhardt is after 20 years of trying here in the Great American Race. We'll be back with more of the story after this.
If you were a bumper sticker on the back of Dale Earnhardt's car, here's what you would have seen. Came in it today, having never led lap 96, 97, 98 of the Daytona 500, but finally, he has led lap 200, the final lap. What ended the race under caution? Let's have a look here.
There's Jimmy Spencer, number 23. John Andretti comes up quickly on him. Has to look like he just had to lock his brakes and cut to the left. That's Lake spins it around. Lake Speed in car number 9 goes around as well.
Looking down the backstretch toward turn 2.
Oh, shit.
And let's join Dick Berggren.
With Kenny Schrader in what has got to be one of the gutsiest runs we've ever seen here in the Daytona 500. Kenny, how are you?
I'm okay. I knew it'd be okay. I wore my Kenny Walsh shirt today.
And ice packs, and what is this yellow thing?
That's a tinge unit. It just shocks you. Ooh, it shocks you bad enough that you forget about what hurts. But we had it on, and we had a Copenhagen Bull Rider vest on, and we had a orthoplastic on, and we were geared up for the crash, and it never happened.
What are you going to be like tomorrow?
I'll be a lot happier.
Well, it's not $1 million, Ken Squire, Mike Joy, but Ken Schrader has done a great job today to finish 5th.
Well, he's eligible for that next $1 million bonus as well by finishing in the top 5. Unofficial finish. Earnhardt, Bobby Labonte, Jeremy Mayfield, Kenny Schrader, Rusty Wallace, Ernie Irvan finishes in 6th. Chad Little, a fine run to 7th. Mike Skinner to 8th. Michael Waltrip 9th. Two-time winner Bill Elliott was 10th. Kyle Petty 11th. And Bobby Hamilton 12th. 13th, Terry Labonte, the outside pole sitter, and Ricky Craven. Jimmy Spencer, Jeff Gordon, Lake Speed, and John Andretti, the lead lap cars. Kenny Irwin, the rookie, a lap down. Ted Musgrave, Jerry Nadeau, the rookie. Sterling Marlin, Mike Wallace, and Brent Bodine. Ward Burton, 25th, and Joe Nemechek, Dick Trickle, Steve Grissom, Andy Hillenberg, and Rick Bass in 30th. Jeff Bodine, former winner. Robert Presley, former champion Darrell Waltrip, and Dale Jarrett. Billy Standridge, the rookie, and Dave Marcus, the veteran. Then Derek Cope, Mark Martin, and Greg Sachs, the last man running. In the garage were Jeff Burton, rookie Steve Park, Ricky Rudd, and rookie Kevin LePage. CBS Sports coverage of the Daytona 500 will continue after this message and a word from your local station. A huge crowd here at Daytona, numbed, smiling, as this man wins his first Daytona 500. Here's Ralph Shaheen.
Well, Rusty Wallace, this is the best you've run at Daytona, your first top 10 finish here. How much of that is due to your new teammate, Jeremy Mayfield?
I think a lot of it's due to the new thing we put together. We started developing the Taurus a long time ago, meaning about 6 months, and we've been really working hard on that car, but the engine ran great today, and the car handled perfect. And Jeremy and I really were working together perfect all day long. We were in the top 5 all day, top 2, 3 mostly all day long. And it just felt really good to get a good top 5 run out of it. For a while there, I thought that maybe I might be able to win it. We had a really good run going on Dale one time, but man, we might have got to him, but it wasn't no getting around him. He wanted his Daytona 500 win really bad. He deserved it, and I'm proud of him. But I just can't say enough about our new team. The Craniff Penske team, the Penske South team, both guys worked great together. The cars were identical. Well, you know, when we came down here, they should have been real close identical, and it worked out good.
Dick Berggren?
Ernie Irvan with an incredibly strong day today with the MB2 team. Were you at all surprised at the quality of that race car?
No, I really wasn't. The Skittles Pontiac is a really good car, and they built last year, built this team, and the Pontiacs are an awesome car, and I'm just glad that we got a good run in, and Kim wasn't being able to be here because she had the baby on Monday, and Jordan's probably watching. Hey Jordan, I love you, and I'll be home in a little bit, and we miss Jared.
Kim is the wife, Jordan and Jared are the children. What now? What do you expect for 1998?
I'm just going to keep building on it. Just keep getting good runs in every week, and this is a lot better start than I had last year, and we're just going to keep building on it.
Congratulations on a great run. Mike Joy?
Dick, a number of firsts this season. First win for Dale Earnhardt, and for the first time, a live Winston Cup race under the lights on network television. You'll see the Pepsi 400 here on CBS Saturday night, July 4th.
There we go. Off and running.
Earlier this week, Bill France lit up the Musco lighting around the outside of this speedway, and a man who's been coming here for 20 years came out to take 20 laps. Now, the lighting system's not completed, but they wired this driver to talk to the lighting people and tell them what he saw. Dale Earnhardt, first man under the lights at Daytona.
First time I came to Daytona and seen the racetrack in 1976, I was like, wow, how big this thing is. When I ran under the lights the other night, That's pretty impressive.
I don't know if you can be able to join since I'm doing a stream on
You'll see the
mobizen.
Pepsi 400 live in prime time here on CBS, Saturday, July 4th. We can't wait. More from Daytona after this.
This CBS Sports Race Summary is sponsored by Texaco, a world of energy.
Back with you at Daytona. 200 laps in the books. The 200 that count for the 500. 8 leaders, but the leader they're all going to be talking about is Dale Earnhardt, victorious in this wonderful Daytona 500 today. Take a look at who did not make it to the end of the line. But
They
consider
failed.
that 43 started, and that's all that fell out. Amazing.
Tries to turn on a car and then
Larry
blows
Woody,
up.
one of the great racing riders, writes with Tennessean, has said Dale doesn't drive for the dough. He drives for the sheer enjoyment of it. He chases checkers like a beagle chases rabbits. It's just his nature. My, wasn't his nature grand today, as he showed all the patience he needed to bring this event off. And that's what it takes to win the Daytona 500. Loads of patience. That was his point all week long, that he had to be patient and then go for it when the time came. And that's exactly the lesson he taught every short tracker in America this day in this 40th annual Daytona 500. We're going to take a commercial break and be back with you once again here at Daytona as the celebration continues. Win, win, win is what Earnhardt says. We're going for the championship this year. A 59 race drought comes to conclusion here in the greatest race of them all, the Daytona 500. Earnhardt reigns big time. Today, to that final moment, you witnessed a war between the finest 43 at Daytona. After each other with everything they had. They threw blocks, they scraped each other right down to the finish. And then when that checkered flag flew, as Earnhardt drove down pit road, as we told you at the outset, it became a sport of friends. Didn't matter what team you were with, you were part of the Earnhardt team. It's an amazing
I don't really
sport.
know Lamar.
Let's go to Mike Joy.
Ken,
really
perhaps he
don't
doesn't
know.
race for the money, but Dale Earnhardt and Richard Childress will take a check to the bank in total of $1,059,000. We had a lot of firsts today. We also had a few seconds. Mr. Baker, your record's intact.
I was wondering there for a little while. I was just glad no one was injured today. Good, safe race. And Dale Earnhardt set history right where he wanted to. He's done it all now.
Seconds to Daytona 500 ever. Buddy Baker has still won the fastest.
And at 46, Dale Earnhardt became the second oldest driver to win the Daytona 500. Bobby Allison holds that distinction. He was 50 when he won it back in 1988.
He may not have started the day as everybody's choice to win, but if your favorite driver couldn't, I'll bet you're glad to see Dale Earnhardt celebrating finally in victory lane. We'll be right back.
Back here at Daytona, and the chant continues to build. Earnhardt, Earnhardt, Earnhardt. What a moment. Let's check in with the folks that gave you the broadcast today and get their thoughts about what we've seen. First, from Stock Car Racing Magazine, Dick Berggren.
Thanks, Ken. Usually at the end of the Daytona 500, there's one winner and 42, well, losers. Not so today. The mood in the garage area is like something I've never experienced before. It's as if everyone has won the Daytona 500. It's been a big day for Dale Earnhardt, a bigger day for NASCAR stock car racing. Ralph?
Dick, obviously Dale Earnhardt played a large part of NASCAR's first 50 years, and after
I'm
he
not
continues to
lying,
add to his
Lamar.
legend like he
Don't
did here
even
today,
start.
it's apparent he'll be a big part of the next 50 years as well. Bill Stevens?
I keep thinking about all the misfortune that Dale Earnhardt has suffered here on his way to this first victory in the Daytona 500. Reminds me of something somebody once told me. If you want the tooth fairy to come first, you're going to have to lose a few teeth. Mike?
A lot of big numbers today, Bill. 50 years of NASCAR, 40 Daytona 500s, 20 years of trying, $1 million to win. Dale Earnhardt.
I'm telling you. You know, he got one dream today. He won the Daytona 500. He can be the first 8-time champion in NASCAR. It may be his year.
Hey, I'm glad I picked him yesterday to win this race today. He finally made me a winner out of me.
Ken Squire.
Right. Thanks, guys. Dale Earnhardt has said, I can honestly say I get as excited on race day now as I did the first time I rolled out on a racetrack.
I haven't
and I
downloaded
want
it
to
yet.
win just as bad. And didn't he demonstrate that for all of us here in this 40th annual Great American Race, the Daytona 500?
That's it. Nope. Daytona 500, over. Request. I don't know what I want to do. I'm going to see if I want to, probably going to watch, probably an Engines of Amtrak. Engine. Yeah, I found Cars 3 on here. Since I'm probably gonna use up the rest of this, let's watch the Turbo Liner. Because I'm bored. And here we go. Actually, Amtrak. Boy, I'm not even at my freaking computer. I'm in my room.
Oh, the Turbo Liner train sets. What a strange looking thing they were. As you can tell, today's edition of Engines of Amtrak is all about the Turbo Liner train sets.
Turbo Liner!
Any mention of an RTG or RTL is just another name for the Turbo Liner in case you get confused later on with the names. RTG is a French-built turbo liner, and an RTL is an American-built turbo liner.
French and American.
In the 1970s, Amtrak was looking for new locomotive designs to replace their then rustic fleet of E8s and E9s. The turbo liner originated out of France, where the train sets were referred to as the turbo train. The turbo train sets were used on France's nationalized railway, the National Railway Company of France, or SNCF.
The National Company
In 1967, SNCF converted a two-car X4300 class DMU into a prototype version of the turbo train known as the XR8575
National Company of
or
France.
Special Gas Turbine Unit.
No one gives a crap.
TGS. The train set would use a gas turbine engine placed into the trailer car and have a new cab built for the lead unit, all while retaining its original diesel motor and transmission. The prototype's gas turbine system was fairly similar to the United Aircraft Company, or UAC's, turbo train operating in the US and Canada. Test runs of the TGS were conducted starting April 25th, 1967, and the TGS reached a speed of 157 miles an hour during a test on October 15th, 1971.
No.
This led to the first generation of turbo trains, the Class T1000 gas turbine element, or ETG. The ETG was produced from 1969 to 1972 by ANF Industry. These train sets consisted of 4 coaches accommodating 188 seats, while being powered by a single diesel engine and gas turbine engine. The ETG used a 1,100 horsepower Turbo Mecha Turbo 3F3 Voith hydraulic gas turbine and used a 430 horsepower Sauer SDHR diesel mechanical engine.
The Turbo
ETG was primarily used in the east and northeastern regions of France. A second generation of turbo trains were produced by ANF Industry called the Class T 2000 Gas Turbine Row, or RTG. 41 of these RTGs were produced from 1972 to 1976. The RTG could reach speeds of 99 miles an hour. The RTG used a 1,100 horsepower gas turbine for units with odd-numbered cabs. Back in the United States, Amtrak noticed the Class T 2000 RTGs and decided in August of 1973 to lease 2 train sets from ANF at a price of $85,000 a month, equivalent to $4.8 million today. Initially, Amtrak based the RTG train sets out of Chicago, being placed into service on a Chicago to St. Louis corridor line. Amtrak heralded the turbo liners as the biggest travel news since the 747.
No, it isn't, you numpty.
David P. Morgan was on board the first run out of Chicago.
However, Amtrak, you realize that,
he praised the
whenever you made those,
for easy viewing in
think
contrast
those
to the
would probably not gonna last.
windows used on the Bud Metroliner. He also praised the smooth riding of the trains, even on rough tracks. Morgan also commented on the narrow aisleways and limited seat comfort. Amtrak found the advantages of the RTGs would be increased availability, higher speed on curves, and the decreased weight of the RTGs would emit less wear and tear on the tracks. Amtrak was quickly impressed with the trains and ordered 4 sets that entered service in 1975 on a Chicago to Milwaukee corridor and Chicago to Detroit corridor. 6 of these train sets cost $18 million, equivalent to $94 million today. Amtrak proposed ordering 14 more train sets for the then partially electrified Northeast Corridor. This would have caused the need to increase passenger fares, and the United States Department of Transportation blocked the proposal.
Department of Transportation.
Came with
Fuck
5
the
cars, 2
Department of
power cars, and a
Transportation.
basic cafe car. The RTGs were fitted for American standards by equipping the train sets with a Nathan P1234A5 air horn, a variation of the Nathan P5. Here are a few samples.
What the kind of fucking horn is that?
The power cars had a knuckle coupler, but in between the coaches, as they were built in France, had buffer and turnbuckle European couplings. The 6 turboliner units bought were used exclusively in Michigan, Illinois, Ohio, and Wisconsin.
Ohio!
Later in the 1970s, the RTG turboliners were fitted with a middle headlight, as apparently some motorists confused the turboliner for an automobile. The RTGs proved much more reliable compared to the UAC turbo train, which experienced tilting and mechanical issues. The turboliners also took over Midwestern duties from the failing SDP-40F.
Why?
The success of these turboliners and increased passenger ridership brought Amtrak to the decision to purchase 7 more sets being delivered between 1976 and 1977. Rather than being built by A&F in France, they were manufactured by Rohr Industries in Chula Vista, California. The newly ordered turboliners were classified as RTLs. One RTL set
The frick is an RT? Okay, question. I don't know these big big train words.
The RTLs would be the last gas turbine train set purchased by Amtrak, as conventional diesel-electric locomotives proved cheaper to operate. The RTLs were fitted for third rail operation in Grand Central Terminal and Pennsylvania Station in New York City as well. Under third rail operation, the train sets were limited to 45 miles an hour. The RTLs could operate up to 950 miles without needing to be refueled. Though the turboliners are meant for high-speed service, they never could reach their full potential due to the track condition they operated on during the time. In 1981, due to high operating costs, Midwest service of the turboliners was retired and F40PHs took over. Turboliners were then fixed to service in the northeastern U.S. Alongside the new RTLs, 3 RTGs were rebuilt to join in on service on the Empire Corridor in 1988 that stretched from New York City to Buffalo, New York. Insufficient maintenance in the early 1990s led to reduced reliability, and Amtrak then retired the RTG-2s after one caught fire in Pennsylvania Station on September 11, 1994.
Really?
This action officially retired all French-built turboliners, otherwise known as RTGs. The aforementioned events left 7 RTL turboliner train sets in use. In 1995, Amtrak and the state of New York began a combined effort to rebuild a single RTL turboliner train set at a cost of $2 million, equipping the set with a new turbine producing 1,600 horsepower. The interiors were renovated and the paint scheme was changed. The newly designed RTL-2 was able to reach a top speed of 125 miles an hour and consumed less fuel than its predecessor.
Still faster, so
In 1998, Amtrak and New York State began cooperating once again and started the High-Speed Rail Improvement Program. $185 million would be allocated to improve service on the Empire Corridor by rebuilding 7 RTL turboliners into RTL-3 standards. However, due to multiple delays, production didn't start until April 2003. Only 1 out of 5 additionally scheduled turboliner sets that were expected to enter service in 2002 were ever completed, but never entered revenue service. 7 turboliners were then painted into the new Acela paint scheme and renumbered in 2001. One rebuilt RTL-3 that was tested reached 125 miles an hour in February of 2001. The first RTL-3 entered service on April 14, 2003, but 2 months later in June, all turboliner RTL-3s were withdrawn due to problems with the air conditioning.
Air conditioning, really?
New York State sued Amtrak in 2004 in federal court for $477 million due to their failure to restore operation of the turboliner train sets and failing to complete track work on the Empire Corridor that would have permitted high-speed operations. Amtrak was storing the units at their maintenance facility in Bear, Delaware. Joseph H. Boardman, then commissioner of the New York State Department of Transportation and a later future president of Amtrak, accused the rail corporation of stealing the train sets and threatened to find a new buyer for intercity state rail service. Amtrak placed Amfleets into the Empire Corridor service to replace the turboliners. In April of 2005, New York State reached a deal with Super Steel, the company commissioned to rebuild the turboliners to close the rehabilitation project for $5.5 million. Super Steel would also have to move the 4 unfinished sets into a storage at a nearby industrial park. In 2007, Amtrak finally In 2007, Amtrak and New York State finally settled their lawsuit by auctioning off their turboliners in 2012 for $420,000 for spare parts. Scrapping of the spare turboliners began in 2013. And just like that, an air conditioning problem and a lawsuit with the state of New York officially ended the 30-year career of the turboliner range.
The turboliner.
Trains outside
Why must the turboliner?
While the turboliner had an extensive running life, they seemed to be overlooked often.
That is true. That's basically why Amtrak.
By those who rode, built,
because you know why?
They
They steal.
will always be a part of the history book.
No.
Railroad Passenger Corporation. Thanks for watching. Thank you to all the following people and sources for providing
I should have been in that.
and videos for the production of this video. I will be progressing further into the history of Amtrak's motive power next time when I discuss the General Electric E60. Stay tuned
Oh
and thank
yeah,
you again
that
for watching.
failure. Supposed to replace SDP40F, and you wanna know what it did? It didn't fucking work. Now, where's... I'm streaming. I might as well just keep watching videos. I might just make it to the 4-hour mark. Who commented this time? The motto is we steal. That is true. Amtrak basically stole almost everything. Let me think. They stole passenger revenues. They stole basically almost everything. Almost trying to run a steam program out of a thing. Okay. Where's that? I'm trying to. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It's not that. It's not that. It's not that. I'm not the. Let's move that. On. That wasn't it either. The fuck? I'm trying to... Funny pictures, here we are. Where is it? Here we are! Found the guy's... Found the guy's channel. So, now, where's that? What the fuck? Now, here we go. Now, here we go, kiddies. We gotta find the big boy. There we... Wait, which one did I click on? Fuck! Wrong one! There we go. Mario video will be next. So now let's watch something about Biggie Boy. No one gives a fucking shit. No one gives a shit. Nobody... Why does every YouTube channel always have to have a fucking intro? Wee! Toot toot, bitch, I'm going bubba.
Love steam engines. Even after decades in steam engines, freight passenger trains, people still flock trackside to see one thunderbot.
Okay, I will after this.
Called the biggest people magnet in the world, and the best PR machine man ever invented.
Over the years,
toot toot, bitch.
Southern operated the two most known steam programs. To this day, Union Pacific has operated the biggest, most powerful steam locomotives in the U.S. The 3985 Challenger-type steam locomotive. Massive, yet
that is slow.
Huge, yet compact. 3985 dominates the rails until Union Pacific announced plans to restore the Challenger's big brother.
Big Boy was born of necessity. Of all the locomotives in the long history of the rails, one of the greatest was called Big Boy, a name by which the world knew an engine that closed a memorable era in Western railroading.
The Big Boy is a product of its time.
But
Designed
why
around the
did
idea
you,
of
did
pulling
you
long
supposed to
military
say my
trains at speed to
number?
help the
That's
US
the wrong
Army.
number, Dumpty.
And after the war ended, the Big Boy helped pull the trains of the baby boom economy. Well, I can let this 1950s film tell you.
So Big Boy marked the end of big steam railroading in the West. He was
Not
not
then.
abandoned because he failed at what he was designed to do, but because a more efficient breed of iron horse appeared in the evolution of railroad locomotives.
See, the Big Boy and all steam locomotives were replaced by the modern
CSX, how tomorrow derails.
Nowadays, diesels have computer systems that check and monitor everything and relay it to the engineer in case
You
of an issue.
CSX! Fuck CSX. Fuck Amtrak. No, wait, never mind. Don't fuck Amtrak. I say the only engine that I say was actually good from Amtrak was the SDP-40. So, fuck Amtrak except for the SDP-40F. NS? No. They're fine.
So, the Union Pacific bringing back a Big Boy does not seem out of place.
I'm a
It's just
fucking
how the
general.
railroads celebrate and cherish their history. Like how some railroads will paint a few of their locomotives in the former paint schemes of railroads they have merged with.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Norfolk Southern and Union Pacific have the best known heritage fleet. Anyway, the Union Pacific's idea for the Big Boy is not to only run it alongside 3985 and 844,
Which
also
is still not
celebrate their
complete yet.
150th anniversary. But this doesn't come without its problems.
It still is not complete yet.
Maintenance. Safety.
Well, that fucked up.
Any three of those ruin a steam program. Most notable, Norfolk Southern's steam program was retired in the early 1990s because of cost and safety. The old coaches pulled by the engines had a tendency to pick switches and derail, which drove up the cost of the insurance, and the railroad now found it a loss.
Norfolk Southern says it's ending the steam excursion program after that. The company just can't justify the expense.
Now, the Union Pacific has had its share of accidents in its steam program. A few derailments here and there. Although not big, the Union Pacific keeps these issues small for a reason. They do proper maintaining of their coaches and engines so they do not derail.
What the fuck are they doing? What are they doing anyway? What is up? Question. Ew, Diesel! Oh. Move. Move a little bit more. A little bit more. Little bit more. Move a little bit more, god damn it!
Maintenance can be the massive issue that goes hand in hand with cost and safety. It's the biggest of all issues. Well, more of a triangle, they're coupled together and work hand in hand.
Hey, look at Soviet,
if done properly, leads to a good, smooth operation. If done poorly, you're looking at a ticking time bomb, since improper maintenance can lead to boiler explosion, derailments, and generally, locomotive failure.
Goddamn.
Poor maintenance is caused by poorly trained crews that can also play a hand in safety. If a crew has hardly any knowledge to operate a steam engine, accidents can lead to this.
What's that? Wait, what the fuck is that? Whoa, shit, what is that?
It's really hard to see what's going on, but right there, the steam locomotive is having a wheel slip. The engineer lost control of the engine, and the wheel slip increased until the piston and driving rods were obliterated.
God damn.
But thankfully, Union Pacific operates a shop in Cheyenne, Wyoming,
Hello,
where they
big boy,
base
how
their
are you
steam
today?
program. A locomotive shop where 844 and 3985 live and are repaired.
The big boy 4014 was moved from its resting place to here and is currently being restored.
Yeah, BS. It's been there for like about 3 years.
While crews at the shops use modern technology to help aid them in the maintenance of the engines.
So as we started to
Ed
get in the
Dickens, you
process of
dumbass.
just taking the tubes out of it, I made the announcement to our bosses that we've got a condition that we want to remedy. We're going to need to have the locomotive down for a while, and that's
My name is Ed Dickens. I'm gonna fucking do this. I'm gonna fucking do that. Yeah, dumbass. You're not gonna do that.
72 service days or 15 years.
Even though the big boy is slightly larger than 3985, Union Pacific has been used to dealing with 3985 in the modern world, so 4014 has no problem fitting in alongside 3985 and 844.
A 3900 carried our familiar shield in the center of its space-like smokebox front, big boy below the headlight.
So with the Union Pacific preparing for 4014's triumphant return to operation, and so does
Okay, that
the
triggers
world,
me.
Union Pacific is also
4014 has a freaking diesel. Oh no. That's fucking
trained
whistle.
crews, proper maintenance facilities, and a good safety record of their steam program. The restoration of 4014 has overshadowed all the other restoration processes, regardless of its location. Sure, NNW 611's restoration process was a huge deal, but come on, this is a big boy. Never before has a big boy run under its own power in the 21st century. So there is no way of Union Pacific backing out on this. There would be a massive public backlash, and Union Pacific does not want their image tarnished. The big boy is a platform Union Pacific can use to help promote their history, a change in style, to also help get people involved in the railroads again. The big boy is a locomotive rich with history of old, but now, big boy is becoming rich with the history of today.
Lucky the boy who one day could say he had seen them in action, for by 1960 the age of steam had virtually ended, and the thrill of seeing a mammoth engine at work was to be only a happy memory of childhood.
Okay. So, yeah, that's big boy. We've been watching that. Now, think what else you want to watch. Let's look up. Let's watch a YouTube poop. I miss some. Nah, you know what? I'm thinking. Okay, I'm thinking. I don't know anything. I'm trying to think. Oh, here we go. Top 11 retired steam excursion stars. Might as well deal with it. I need to have something sad. Here we go. Sad time, kiddies! Now I'm gonna let this intro play. I'm gonna be right back. But
in the 21st century, mainline steam excursions are considered by some to be one of the best public relations assets to any major railroad. Dozens of private groups have restored the engines used on these trips to running condition out of a respect for the past and an eye to educating future generations. Sadly, not all the steam locomotives in the excursion service are around today. Some were retired for various reasons, or, in the worst case, outright scrapped. Happily, some of the engines mentioned here won't be down for long, as some of them will experience a return to glory very soon.
Why?
But without further ado, here is my personal list of the top 11 retired Steam Excursion stars. Number 11. Grand Trunk Western number 4070. This 1918 Alco-built Mikado was originally built as engine number 3734, but renumbered to 4070 in the 1950s.
Sad.
Its last revenue freight assignment for the Grand Trunk Western occurred on March 29, 1960, 2 days after the railroad had made the complete transition to diesel power. After sitting idle for 6 years in Michigan, the 4070 was leased by the Midwest Railway Preservation Society for excursion service. From 1966 to 1974, the locomotive ran several trips on former Grand Trunk trackage and through Pennsylvania with Reading 484 number 2102.
21.
In 1975, the 4070 ran weekend excursions on the new Cuyahoga Valley line between Cleveland and Akron. After nearly 40 years of excursion service, the Husky Mikado was retired in 1990 after mechanical problems sidelined her. Today, the 4070 resides at the Midwest Railway Preservation Society's former B&O Roundhouse in the Flats of Cleveland. Restoration work began in 2014 to return the locomotive to service, but it will likely be a few years before she will be ready to run. Number 10. Grand Trunk Western number 5629. Another Grand Trunk survivor, this 462 Pacific was bought from the railroad by Richard Jensen in 1959. The 1924 Alco product was used on a few excursions around the Chicago area in the late 1960s, as well as having a 2-year stint pulling the Schlitz circus train from Baraboo to Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah, circus.
However, Jensen ran into financial trouble in the early 1970s and couldn't afford to run any more excursions with the engine. He moved the 5629 around until he was able to come to an agreement with the Rock Island Railroad to store the locomotive at their Blue Island, Illinois freight yard. After the abandonment of the Rock Island right-of-way, Metra acquired the Blue Island complex in hopes of redesigning the property. Though Metra was allowed to use the Blue Island complex, they couldn't move 5629 since it was owned by Jensen. The commuter railroad operator asked Jensen to move the locomotive to the nearby Iowa Interstate Railroad, but wouldn't provide any assistance in getting it there. After several groups, including the Illinois Railway Museum, tried to get their hands on the 5629 and move it without Jensen's approval, Metra had had enough. The railroad sent out a salvage crew and scrapped the locomotive right where she stood. All rail fans could do was watch with horror and disbelief as the once preserved engine was cut up.
Metra?
Today, the story of the 56
You a murderer!
stands as one of
You
the
murdered one of my
tragedies
best
of
friends, you
railroad
dumbass!
preservation. Despite the efforts of numerous groups to save it, the engine ended up suffering a fate that it would have gone through anyway, had it not been for Richard Jensen's early intervention. Happily, there are 2 other surviving Grand Trunk Western Pacifics left, so 5629's class is still well represented. Number 9. Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy, number 5632.
Oh no, I know what happens in
The
this one.
CB&Q was one of the few railroads in the 1950s that actually had a corporate steam excursion program. They had 2 locomotives that were their breadwinners, 282 number 4960 and 484 number 5632. The 5632 was one of the 05B class Northerns built at the Quincy's own West Burlington, Iowa shops. For nearly 20 years, these engines hustled freight and passenger trains over the CB&Q until the diesels began to replace them. The 5632 was spared from the scrapper's torch and saved by the railroad's president, Harry C. Murphy, for use in public excursion service. The big 484 made a beautiful sight as she muscled huge excursion consists solo and even ran an occasional doubleheader with 4960. In 1964, during the 100th anniversary of the opening of the Quincy's main line between Chicago and Aurora, Illinois, number 5632 gained the title of the world's largest brass model when she was painted gold to commemorate the occasion.
That is awesome!
Sadly, the steam program on the CB&Q wasn't to last any longer. Harry Murphy retired from his position as president in 1966, and Louis W. Mank succeeded him. Mr. Mank had absolutely no interest in running steam, and so ended the program. Number 5632 was sold to Richard Jensen, along with a boxcar full of spare parts. Through a strange occurrence of events, the locomotive was moved in 1969 from the Chicago and Western Indiana Railroad roundhouse that Jensen had leased for years to a Chicago scrapyard for storage.
Why put it in a fucking scrapyard?
Fortunately, the 5632 derailed as it traversed the trackage into the yard. With no way to get the locomotive back on the rails, the scrappers just cut 5632 up where she stood. The same fate that would befall number 5629 nearly a quarter of a century later. But just like 5629, number 5632 has 4 sister engines that carry on her legacy. And what of the 4960? Well, she's still running trips today on selected Saturdays throughout the year at the famed Grand Canyon Railway in Williams, Arizona.
Grand Canyon Railway. Yeah. I really want some of those for trains. If someone could make those for trains, I'd probably love that.
Number 8.
Here we are, number 8.
Cotton Belt number 819.
819!
The St. Louis Southwestern Railroad, better known as the Cotton Belt, had a series of home-built 484 Northerns in the same way that the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy had. Engine number 819, the last of the class, was built at the Pine Bluff, Arkansas shops in 1942 and entered revenue service in February of 1943. The Cotton Belt 484s became the prime movers of freight on the main line and were the preferred engines of choice for the railroad's Blue Streak merchandise trains from Missouri to Texas, where they were interchanged with parent company Southern Pacific. The 819 only had a brief 10-year career on the Cotton Belt before being retired in 1955 to a park in Pine Bluff. After nearly 30 years of being exposed to the elements and vandals, the locomotive looked like a shell of its former self. But in 1983, salvation came in the form of the Cotton Belt Rail Historical Society. They teamed up with the railroad to move the 819 out of the park and back to the Pine Bluff shops where she was built for restoration. After 3 years of work, the 819 steamed again in April of 1986 and began running excursions on the Cotton Belt throughout Arkansas and Texas. In 1990, the locomotive undertook its longest trip ever when it traveled to St. Louis, Missouri for that year's National Railway Historical Society convention. Her last excursion occurred in October of 1993 from Pine Bluff to Tyler, Texas and back. From that point on, the 819 was stored inside the Pine Bluff shop, now home to the Arkansas Railroad Museum. work to return the engine to steam again has been proceeding in fits and starts, but a new initiative called Project 819 is currently raising funds to invest in a boiler ultrasound test. Once the results are known, the volunteers will continue the necessary work to bring the pride of Pine Bluff back to service.
Part 2, and then part 3, and then I'm gonna end the stream.
I say dance, you say dance.
No one gives up. Shit. Okay, can we start the stupid second part before I'm going to end those?
Number 7. Chesapeake and Ohio, number 2716. One of many successful 284 Kanawhas built by Alco C&O. Was used for hauling fast freight and heavy coal trains along the namesake subdivision in West Virginia. Retired from service in 1956, the locomotive was sold to the Kentucky Railway Museum for display 3 years later.
Kentucky!
In 1979, the 2716 was leased by the Clinchfield Railroad for their steam excursion program. Sadly, the plans to return the locomotive to service on the Clinchfield were canned the following year, when the Seaboard Airline bought out the railroad. Fortunately, the 2716 was purchased by the Southern Railway after the Clinchfield program ended and moved to the Irondale, Alabama steam shop.
Irondale?
1 year later, the C&O Kanawha emerged in a new dress as Southern 2716. She was made over into a hybrid design of what a superpower locomotive would look like had the Southern purchased one new. Her tender was a marriage of freight and passenger liveries, and she got a centered headlight with a brass eagle on top on the smokebox door.
That is cool.
When the 284 entered excursion service on the Southern in the fall of 1981, she proved to be a powerful performer, taking trains of up to 18 to 20 cars unassisted. The following year, 1982, Southern's new superstar was starting to have problems. The 2716 developed cracks in her firebox which dampened her performance, both figuratively and literally. By that autumn, the Kanawha was sidelined, and Nickel Plate Road 765 was called in as a replacement. Following the merger of the Southern Railway into the current Norfolk Southern,
Norfolk.
She was retired
It's
in
Norfolk.
favor of Norfolk and Western locomotives 611 and 1218.
Yay. Oh, wait, no, not right now. No, I don't want to replace.
Doesn't end there, though. In the early 1990s, she was leased by the Fort Wayne Railroad Historical Society to be a running mate to Nickel Plate Road 765. The Fort Wayne crew solved the firebox problems and put the C&O locomotive to work on a few excursions out of Logansport, Indiana in 1996. Unfortunately, the newfound stardom wasn't to last, as it was found 2716's flues were close to expiring. At this point, the Fort Wayne group had to decide what to do with both of their 284s. They could either do a full rebuild of the 765 and get a like-new locomotive out of it, or install new flues in 2716 and keep her running. In the end, the decision to rebuild 765 was the best course of action
That is
for the Fort
way
Wayne
too tall of a
Historical
template.
Society. The 2716 was shipped home to the Kentucky Railway Museum, where she is currently on static display.
Static display, motherfucker.
Whether or not she'll run again is up for debate, but despite her roller coaster career, this Kanawha has certainly made many good memories for all who have seen her. Number 6. Savannah and Atlanta, number 750. Another Southern steam program star, the 750 was originally built for the Florida East Coast Railway in 1910 by Alco. The locomotive was sold off in 1935 to the Savannah and Atlanta Railroad after a major hurricane wiped out the Florida East Coast rail lines serving the Florida Keys. After the locomotive's retirement from the S&A in 1962, the railroad's president, Charles Gay, donated the 750 to
Charles
the
Gay!
Atlanta chapter of the National Railway Historical Society.
Worst name to get.
2 years after her donation to the Atlanta chapter, the sprightly Little Pacific was put in charge of a special excursion to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Jonesboro, Georgia, operated by the Southern Railway. After the success of the Jonesboro trips, the railway hired out the 750 for more public relations excursions. From that point on, the locomotive became part of the new Southern Steam program, running excursion trains all over the system. The Little Ballerina, as Bill Purdy's wife Sarah affectionately called 750, served Southern's program well until she was retired in the mid-1980s. Her excursion career wasn't quite over, as she ran a few more years for the state-sponsored New Georgia Railroad out of Atlanta. However, number 750's time was cut short in the late 1980s when it was found that she needed firebox repairs which were deemed too expensive. Today, the fleet-footed engine enjoys a quiet retirement at the Southeastern Railway Museum in Duluth, Georgia. Number 5. The Reading T1 484s. The backbone of the Reading's freight operations until the end of steam, the T1s became even more famous for their work in preservation.
2113, get it.
4 locomotives, the 2101, 2102, 2124, and the prototype engine, number 2100, were preserved for excursions by the Reading. The Iron Horse Rambles, also known as the Reading Rambles, were run from 1959 to 1964, with engines 2100, 2102, and 2124. The 2101 was kept as a standby locomotive, but never run. In 1962, the 2124 bowed out of the program when she was purchased by F. Nelson Blount for his Steamtown USA collection in Bellows Falls, Vermont. 2 years later, the 3 other T-Hogs were sold off as well.
Oh.
The 2100 and 2101 were sold to Strigel's Scrapyard in Baltimore, Maryland, but held for preservation.
It says fuzzy.
The 2102 was sold to Steam Tours of Akron, Ohio, and used on mainline excursions throughout the East and Midwest. In 1985, the engine found itself back in Reading, Pennsylvania for its 40th birthday, and was purchased that same year by Andy Muller, the owner and operator of the Blue Mountain and Reading Railroad. The 2102 was back on home rails after the BM&R acquired more Reading trackage in the area and began running freight service in addition to the excursion trains. 1991 was the last year that the 2102 was operational on the Reading and Northern. Today, the locomotive is in storage at the Railroad Steam Shop in Port Clinton, Pennsylvania. Whether or not she'll be returned to service has yet to be determined. The 2124 moved with the rest of the Steamtown collection to Scranton, Pennsylvania in 1984, and she has been on display there ever since. The 2 other T-Hogs have had their ups and downs as well. In 1975, they were bought by Ross Rowland, who was working on the American Freedom Train project. The 2101 was chosen for restoration to operation, while the 2100 would be a donor engine, providing spare parts.
As usual.
The restoration of 2101 only took a remarkable 30 days to complete.
30 days?
And on April 1st of 1975, the locomotive, rechristened as American Freedom Train No. 1, took charge of the Bicentennial Exhibit Train in Wilmington, Delaware. Between 1975 and 1976, the T1 would swap the Freedom Train with Southern Pacific GS4 Northern No. 4449, more commonly known as the Daylight. After the Freedom Train tour ended at the beginning of 1977, The number 1 was returned to her original number of 2101 and repainted into chassis system colors. The engine's new assignment was to be the star locomotive of the Chessie Steam Special, an excursion and exhibit train designed to celebrate the 150th birthday of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. For 2 years, Chessie 2101 toured the entirety of the Chessie system, but her operating career came to an end in 1979 when she was badly damaged in a roundhouse fire in Russell, Kentucky. The 2101 was cosmetically restored as American Freedom Train Number 1 and placed on static display at the B&O Railroad Museum in Baltimore, where she resides today. The prototype engine, number 2100, had an even stranger story, as she spent more time out of service than she did under steam. After sitting in Strigel's scrapyard for several years, the locomotive was moved to Hagerstown, Maryland for restoration. For a short time in the 1980s, she was owned by Richard Kuhn, the owner and CEO of Lionel Trains.
What?
Kuhn's ownership of 2100 didn't last for too long, and the engine was soon sold to Thomas Paine, who moved it to St. Thomas, Ontario, Canada, and converted it to oil firing. An attempt to operate excursions with 2100 in Canada fell through in the early 21st century, and in 2007, the engine was moved to Washington State. For only a year, the 2100 ran some excursions on the short-lived Golden Pacific Railroad in Tacoma, before being placed again in dead storage.
Get rid of those
But
ditch
fortunately,
lights.
the engine will not be silent for long. A new project called Fire Up 2100 was launched in early 2015 to return the engine to service. At the time of this production, the locomotive has been moved to the Midwest Railway Preservation Society's ex-B&O Roundhouse in Cleveland, Ohio, and initial disassembly and repairs have begun. The group expects 2100 to be operational within 2 years if all work proceeds as planned. Number 4.
Here we go.
Chesapeake in Ohio, number 614. The sole survivor of the C&O's J3A class of 484 Northerns, the 614 was built in October of 1948 by the Lima Locomotive Works of Lima, Ohio. This made her one of the last steam locomotives made by Lima before they merged with the Hamilton Corporation to begin making diesel locomotives. After only 7 years in revenue service, the 614 was retired in favor of diesels and placed in storage in Russell, Kentucky. In 1975, the locomotive was moved to the B&O Railroad Museum for static display. 4 years later, her fortunes were to change when Ross Rowland acquired the locomotive. She was traded in exchange for Reading 2101, which was damaged in the 1979 roundhouse fire mentioned earlier. Only 1 year after the trade was complete, the 614 was back under steam and ready to pull the Chessie Safety Express, a new rolling exhibit train designed to educate the public about grade crossing safety. Following the end of the system-wide tour in 1981, number 614 was placed in storage in Hagerstown, Maryland for 4 years until the next return to service came along. In late 1984, the locomotive was rebuilt and fitted with multiple sensors and scientific equipment for Ross Rowland's new project, the Ace 3000 steam locomotive.
That is not a steam
The
locomotive.
Ace 3000 was the brainchild of Ross Rowland's new company, American Coal Enterprises, along with the initiative of building a new coal-fired locomotive to reduce dependence on foreign oil. For the entire month of January 1985, the 614T, with the T denoting test engine, pulled loaded and empty coal trains along the New River Gorge from Huntington to Hinton, West Virginia and back, providing data to be used to design the Ace 3000. Though the 614 produced great results and put on a stunning show in the freezing weather, the Ace 3000 project was canned when the price of oil lowered, and the nation's railroads dropped their support. After another period of inactivity, the 614 was rebuilt again for excursion service. In 1997 and 1998, the locomotive ran special fall foliage trains from Hoboken, New Jersey to Port Jervis, New York, and back. During these excursions, the 614 was allowed to let loose and romp up to 70 to 80 miles per hour with a 15 to 18 car train.
70?
Sadly, the excursions didn't yield any further results, and the venerable Greenbrier was again retired. Today, the 614 is on display at the C&O Heritage Center in Clifton Forge, Virginia. She has been repainted into a green paint scheme for the annulled Greenbrier Presidential Express. But chances are possible that we haven't seen the last of this famous engine quite yet.
Okay, part 3. Here we go.
Number 3. Pennsylvania Railroad number 1361. One of only 2 of a staggering 425 K4 class Pacifics to survive, the 1361, built by the PRR's Juniata shops in 1918, was first placed on display at the famed Horseshoe Curve in 1957. In 1985, the engine was removed from the display site and taken back to the Juniata shops in Altoona for restoration. 2 years later, the 1361 was ready to begin excursion service on the main line. Unfortunately, her rise to stardom would take a sour turn when she suffered a catastrophic failure of the main bearing and driving axle only 1 year after her return to service. Beginning in 1996, the 1361 was disassembled and moved to Steamtown National Historic Site in Scranton for rebuilding. The state of Pennsylvania originally granted $420,000 to the project, but gave an additional $600,000 in the year 2000. For the next decade, the locomotive's restoration progressed in fits and starts, until the Altoona Railroaders Memorial Museum ran out of money to fund the project. By 2013, the 1361 was off of Steamtown property. The tender, frame, and smaller components were moved home to Altoona, and the boiler was stored at the East Broad Top Railroad. Fortunately, there is hope for Pennsylvania's official state steam locomotive. As of this past summer, the boiler was reunited with the rest of the engine at the Railroaders Memorial Museum in Altoona. Furthermore, a small group of volunteers are making slow but steady progress on continuing the locomotive's rebuild in the new quarter roundhouse built on the museum grounds. While some might view 1361's story as a scarlet letter in railroad preservation, the fact that the project is back up and running again should be reason enough to keep the enthusiasts going. With time, effort, and more appropriated funding, there is a chance that the K4 will steam again in the near future. Number 2. Frisco number 1522. I couldn't resist putting this engine on the list. It's become a well-liked engine, even after its retirement. But first, the backstory. The 1522 was one of 30 482 mountain-type locomotives built by Baldwin for the St. Louis-San Francisco Railway, better known as the Frisco. From 1926 to 1951, the locomotive hauled freight and passenger trains for the Frisco until diesels came along. After steam operations ended on the railroad in 1952, the 1522 was retired and then donated to the Museum of Transportation in St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay, guys, I think I'm gonna probably end the stream right here because I need to talk to someone. So, yes, Sean Pug Productions signing off. Peace, mates.